Chapter 1. Jiang Peihuan slowly sat up, leaning against the soft cushion, her eyes fixed on the curling sandalwood incense in the room, and she couldn't help but feel dazed. Hadn't she already died? Why had she woken up in her own bed? She closed her eyes, and the brutal scenes from her past appeared clearly in her mind. On that fateful day, she stood in the main hall, drenched in blood. Her sword gleamed with a cold light as she pointed it at the man dressed in a yellow robe and questioned him. "Xiao Juanhao, do you truly have no feelings for me?" she asked. "Yes." Xiao Juanhao turned around and replied coldly. "I have never loved you. Yao Er is my cherished queen of Qing." Jiang Peihuan trembled with anger. This bastard. He bent down, icily lifting her chin, and whispered in her ear. "Also, Meng Yi is under my command." Jiang Peihuan's tearful eyes widened in shock. When her father had been falsely accused of treason, she had suspected there was a traitor. So it was Meng Yi all along. She shivered, finding it hard to believe as she looked at this man she had admired for years. Unsatisfied with her reaction, Xiao Juanhao nonchalantly recounted how her siblings had met their tragic ends one by one. "Your younger brother fought valiantly through the enemy lines, but I ordered the city gates closed, exhausting his final strength. In the end, he was impaled by numerous spears on the city gate, his eyes open even in death. Your sisters were sent to my army's camp, forced to entertain my soldiers day after day until their bodies couldn't bear it any longer." Jiang Peihuan's eyes blazed with fury. She thrust her sword with all her might, determined to pierce the heart of this heartless monster. She vowed to avenge her family, the Jiang family. However, Xiao Juanhao simply laughed. He reversed her wrist, neutralizing her strength. Then, with a swift motion, her sword clattered to the ground. He was skilled in martial arts. From the beginning, he had been deceiving and exploiting her. "Enough. Take her down and reward my soldiers," Xiao Juanhao said, looking at her as if she were an insignificant insect. "Xiao Juanhao, you're a monster." Jiang Peihuan gritted her teeth, her eyes turning blood red. Even in death, she would never let this monster have his way. With a resounding thud, the last daughter of the Jiang family, the renowned General Jiang, stabbed herself in the stomach with a sword, thus meeting her tragic end. Emerging from her memories, Jiang Peihuan's body spasmed with pain for a few moments. Her face hardened as her eyes filled with immense hatred for Xiao Juanhao. This monster. Her face turned cold, and her eyes were filled with boundless hatred. "Miss, are you all right?" Yu'er put down the bowl of medicine she was holding and rushed to Jiang Peihuan's side. Jiang Peihuan looked at Yu'er, the most loyal girl who had served her since childhood. Yu'er deserved a happy marriage and a peaceful life, but fate had been cruel to her. On the day Jiang Peihuan married Xiao Juanhao, Yu'er overheard a secret conversation and tried to warn her. But Xiao Junhao's men caught her and subjected her to brutal torture before burying her alive in the snow. And then there was Chui'er. While Jiang Peihuan was on the battlefield, Xiao Juanhao had given her away to a depraved old man, and she never returned. All of this was Xiao Junhao's doing. Even in her final moments, he had spoken to her in the same gentle tone that had once enamored her, making her despise him all the more. Jiang Peihuan was lost in her memories, feeling her body gradually turn cold from the inside out, freezing her to the bone. She could barely move, fearing that even the slightest movement would cause her bones to shatter like glass. After a long while, she regained consciousness and forced herself to stand up. Just then, Chui'er walked in and saw how tired Jiang Peihuan looked. She couldn't help but complain. "It's all because of that second daughter from the Yin family. Inviting you to go fishing in the middle of winter, she almost let you get hooked by a fish." Fishing? The second daughter of the Yin family? Jiang Peihuan's muddled mind finally began to clear up. Isn't today December 12th? As she was thinking this, a maid rushed into the courtyard in panic, shouting, "Something terrible has happened. The Prince of Huainan is here to call off the wedding. No, to change the bride. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." Chapter 2. A Change of Bride. Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but laugh as she remembered the reason for the Huainan prince visiting today. It was because she had fallen into the water a few days ago, and they feared she might never be able to bear children. As a result, he had come to arrange a change of bride. However, this mention triggered a memory in Jiang Peihuan that she couldn't quite place. In her previous life, she couldn't recall how she had been rescued, but this time around, she had a distinct impression of it. Suddenly, a pair of cold and piercing eyes flashed in her mind, and she realized that the owner of those eyes was someone she knew. So, it was him, King Cheng, Xiao Nani. He was the youngest son of the previous emperor and the younger brother of the current emperor. He had an extremely noble status and had been outstanding since he was young. In addition to his exceptionally handsome face that was the envy of countless women in the capital, it was just that his personality was ruthless. Anyone who offended him did not have a good ending. She didn't expect that the person who saved her when she fell into the water was him. Jiang Peihuan shivered for some reason when she suddenly learned of such an unexpected truth. It wasn't that she had anything against him personally, but in her previous life, King Cheng's sudden and mysterious death had resulted in anyone and anything associated with him vanishing without a trace. It was as if he had never existed. Jiang Peihuan had been reborn to protect her family and seek revenge. The last thing she wanted was to get entangled with King Cheng. Fortunately, from her previous life, she was destined not to have any interactions with him. Yu Er, Jiang Peihuan's servant, listened to the little maid's gossip with a troubled expression. "Miss, I'm sure this maid's words are nothing more than hearsay. Please don't take it seriously." Jiang Peihuan laughed lightly, her face remaining calm. "I've been in bed for too long. It looks like it's time to get up," Jiang Peihuan said, as she got out of her bed. Yu Er couldn't help but mutter to herself, but she didn't dare to say anything and silently helped Jiang Peihuan apply her makeup. Jiang Peihuan looked at her from the reflection in the mirror and smiled. "Let's go. Accompany me to watch a show." After saying that, she casually picked up a cloak and draped it over her body before heading out. Thinking back, the Prince of Huainan also came to propose to the daughters of the Jiang family early on because the Jiang family had rendered meritorious service in protecting the former emperor, and their reputation had greatly risen. Originally, they valued her because at the age of 8, she had learned to ride a horse and had mastered martial arts. At the age of 14, she went to battle with her grandfather and was as brave as any man. However, to her surprise, after falling into the water and getting sick, the Huainan prince was eager to replace her with a new wife. It was really amusing. At this moment, snow was still falling. Yu Er, worried, followed closely behind Jiang Peihuan with an umbrella. Together, they walked through the snowy landscape side by side. As they walked, Jiang Peihuan heard a crisp, snap sound. It was a tree branch breaking under the weight of the thick snow. The snow, mixed with the fallen tree branch, landed on Yu Er's umbrella. Jiang Peihuan's cold fingers tightened around the umbrella handle, and she gave a slight smile. Perhaps it was fate. Fate was telling her that everything from the past was broken, just like how the tree branch would soon regrow fresh leaves and buds. She, too, would begin a new life. As they approached the main hall, Jiang Peihuan overheard her grandmother's voice from inside. "Your Highness, Peihuan merely fell into the water by accident, and she is still recovering from her illness. It seems unfair for the Huainan mansion to change the bride and add insult to injury." Zhao Fucking, the heir of Huainan King, spoke with a displeased tone. "Old madam, you can't say that. This marriage was arranged by my grandfather, who valued the Jiang family for their noble status and loyalty. But you have to understand that I'm the only son of Huainan Mansion. Now that Miss Jiang has been sick for so long, I'm afraid her health, you can't just watch my family's line end." Upon hearing this, Madame Jiang became even angrier. How could they humiliate her daughter like this? Unfortunately, the Huainan prince's title and status meant the Jiang family could not easily offend them. Therefore, old madam, we Huainan Mansion had no choice but to do this. Our family's marriage agreement still stands. It's just that the daughter who will be married must be changed. As Zhao Fucking spoke, his eyes unconsciously glanced to the side. Jiang Ruyun stood there in a peach-colored dress, her hair neatly arranged, a sign of her careful preparation. Madame Zhou Rongfang, the second wife of the household, looked pleased. As fortunes changed, If Zhang Ruyun were to marry the prince of Huainan Mansion, then they, the second wife's household, would no longer have to be inferior to the first wife's household. As old Madame Zhang was about to speak, Zhang Peihuan walked in. "Grandmother, our Zhang household is really lively today." Everyone was surprised to see Zhang Peihuan. "Eldest sister, your illness hasn't fully recovered. Why did you get up?" Nanny Su, who was beside old Madame, quickly walked up to Zhang Peihuan and helped her up. "Fortunately, I got up, or else I wouldn't have been able to see this liveliness." Zhang Peihuan smiled and patted Nanny Zu's hand, indicating her not to worry. Peihuan, Zhao Fucking's arrogant demeanor faded slightly upon seeing Zhang Peihuan. At the same time, a worried look flashed across Zhang Ruyun's face. "How dare you still speak my sister's name?" Before Zhang Peihuan could say anything, a spoiled little girl jumped out and pointed at Zhao Fucking's nose, scolding him. Zhang Peihuan turned to see her youngest sister, Zhang Xijin, dressed in a dark red dress, bright and flamboyant. Seeing her sister, Zhang Peihuan became emotional. If it weren't for that despicable man, her life would have been different. "Sister, how can you speak like that?" Zhang Ruyun asked gently. "He will still be your brother-in-law in the future. Don't let others say our Zhang family is impolite because of your actions." Zhao Fucking nodded in agreement, then glanced at Zhang Xijin with fear. He was relieved that he didn't marry Zhang Peihuan. If her biological sister was this fierce, then her sister would be even more terrifying. Recalling that Zhang Peihuan had fought and killed on the battlefield, Zhao Fucking's resolve to change brides grew stronger. Zhang Peihuan smiled contemptuously, adjusting her cloak as she asked casually, "So, the prince came today to change brides?" "That's right, I want to marry Zhang Ruyun," Zhao Fucking declared. Zhang Peihuan stared at him, memories of their past surfacing. Zhao Fucking had met her when she was just 5 years old. He often watched her practice martial arts, handed her water, and stutteringly vowed to marry her. Now, here he was, declaring his intention to marry her cousin instead. How quickly people's hearts change. Thinking back to her previous life, she had felt deeply sorry for him because of Xiao Juanhao. She even knelt down and begged her grandmother to change the marriage arrangement. Now that she thought about it, she found it even more amusing. Seeing Zhang Peihuan looking at him, Zhao Fucking thought she was refusing and was about to say something. "Pa!" The sound of a crisp slap echoed, startling everyone. "Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." Chapter 3. What a shameless man. Zhang Peihuan sneered. "Do you think you can simply replace the daughter of the Zhang family?" Zhao Fucking was stunned by the slap, seeing stars. He leaned on the table to regain his composure, fuming with anger. "What gives you the right to hit me?" "It's because you're an ungrateful wretch," Zhang Peihuan replied, taking the tea that Yuer handed her and continuing. "Who was the one who came begging at our door, pleading with my grandfather to marry me, and no one else? Has the prince forgotten already?" Zhao Fucking's face turned red as he pointed at Zhang Peihuan. "The past?" Zhang Peihuan asked indifferently, blowing on her tea with an air of elegance. "Since the prince claims it's all in the past, why don't we just cancel the marriage? We could say that the previous marriage agreement was merely a joke and not binding." Cancel the marriage? Before Zhao Fucking could react, Zhang Ruyun was already anxious. She had put in so much effort to secure the opportunity to marry into the Huainan family. If the marriage were to be cancelled, then wouldn't she? Before Zhang Ruyun could speak, Zhou Rongfang impatiently interjected, "This marriage was arranged by the elders of both families. How can it be cancelled so easily? If word gets out, won't the Zhang family be ridiculed for not keeping our promises?" Zhao Fucking was furious. Yet, what infuriated him most was how the woman before him spoke about these matters so casually, as if she didn't care at all. This inexplicably gave Zhao Fucking a sense of defeat. "Don't think I don't know," he said. "She was rescued by a man that day, and someone saw it. Our Huainan family has a sterling reputation. If this becomes public knowledge..." Before he could finish, the old madam slammed the teacup on the table. He shrank back and fell silent, but eventually spoke up again. "Regardless, if the Zhang family doesn't agree to change brides, they'll write a divorce letter." This infuriated the old madam even more. and she clenched her fists. After all, whether it was changing the bride or canceling the marriage, if word got out, it would only mean that the two families had failed to reach an agreement. However, if it came to a divorce letter, it would bring immense humiliation to all the unmarried women of the Jiang family. Oh. Jiang Peihuan glanced at him, not bothered in the least. You can choose to write the divorce letter or not. But if you divorce me, don't even think about marrying Jiang Ruyun. You. Indignant, Jiang Ruyun stormed out and shouted loudly, "You lost your own chance at marriage, so why are you stopping me?" Oh. Jiang Peihuan looked at her with an amused smile before focusing her gaze on Ruyun's stomach. With just that glance, Jiang Ruyun's confidence faltered, and she sheepishly took a step back. In her past life, Jiang Peihuan had only discovered the intimate relationship between Jiang Ruyun and Zhao fucking after Ruyun had married into the family. Jiang Ruyun, that foolish girl, had secretly become pregnant with Zhao fucking's child. The others, however, remained clueless, assuming that Ruyun was simply afraid of Jiang Peihuan. Zhou Rongfeng didn't think much of it either. She pulled Jiang Ruyun close and tearfully said, "Huan, I shouldn't say this, but Ruyun is your sister too. You shouldn't wish her harm, right? If you know you shouldn't say it, then keep quiet," Jiang Peihuan replied, gently setting down her teacup. Her mother's health was deteriorating, and her second aunt seemed to be growing bolder. The bride swap isn't even settled, and you're already siding with the Huainan family. Once you become relatives, will you abandon the Jiang family altogether? You're falsely accusing me. Zhou Rongfeng's face flushed with embarrassment, and she glared at Jiang Peihuan, feeling puzzled. Jiang Peihuan was known for her bravery and easygoing nature. When had she ever been this stern? Could this really be Jiang Peihuan? The atmosphere turned tense, and under Jiang Peihuan's piercing gaze, Jiang Ruyun's legs trembled slightly. However, she quickly composed herself, knowing she couldn't hide her pregnancy if the marriage wasn't changed. With that in mind, she approached and knelt before Jiang Peihuan. "Fu Qing and I are deeply in love. I hope, elder sister, you can grant us your blessing." As sisters raised under the same roof, Jiang Ruyun hoped that Jiang Peihuan would understand. She had shown vulnerability and had said as much. The strong-willed Jiang Peihuan would never back down without good reason. But in the end, Jiang Peihuan's lips curled into a cold, mocking smile. "Grant your wishes? Tell me, why should I?" "Why?" Jiang Ruyun hadn't expected Jiang Peihuan to respond that way and was momentarily at a loss for words. Her vulnerability stirred Zhao fucking's protective instincts, and he stepped forward, confronting Jiang Peihuan. "What exactly do you want, Jiang Peihuan?" The old madam immediately saw through the deep affection between fucking and Ruyun. She shook her head at Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Peihuan knew her grandmother had understood and was hinting for her to prioritize the family's interests. But how could she swallow this injustice without a fight? Jiang Peihuan turned around and said, "If you want to swap brides, I have a condition." "What condition?" Zhao fucking asked. "I want 100,000 taels of gold, and then he'll agree to this arrangement," Jiang Peihuan replied. 100,000 taels of gold. Have you lost your mind? Zhao fucking exclaimed. Seeing his hesitation, Jiang Peihuan added fuel to the fire. Is my younger sister less valuable than material possessions in the prince's eyes? The requested 100,000 taels of gold was a substantial sum for the Huainan family. Although they could afford it, it would still sting for a while. Brother fucking, before Zhao fucking could speak again, Jiang Ruyun called out his name pitifully, tugging at his heartstrings. He gritted his teeth and relented. Fine, I'll pay the 100,000 taels of gold, but you mustn't go back on your word. Of course not. Bring the ink, brush, and paper, Jiang Peihuan commanded. Verbal agreements aren't enough. We need it in writing, she insisted. As Zhao fucking looked at the brush, ink, paper, and inkstone brought forward, he seethed with anger. Jiang Peihuan had clearly anticipated this. He began to doubt whether today's events were his decision, or if they had been orchestrated by her from the start. Regardless, at this point, he had no choice but to accept his fate and take the pen. After a few strokes, he finished writing. Jiang Peihuan retrieved the contract and ordered the marriage document to be presented. Zhao fucking took the document and replaced it with another one, now with Zhang Ruiyan's name on it. The bride swap was complete. Zhao fucking breathed a sigh of relief. But thinking about the 100,000 taels of gold, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. Zhang Peihuan, as a woman, you're quite competitive. Let me offer some advice. In the future, learn needlework so you can better care for your husband and raise your children. With the gold in hand, Zhang Peihuan fearlessly replied, You're being rude, brother-in-law. Since we've already changed our marriage arrangement, my future marriage is none of your concern. And how dare you speak out of line while my grandmother is present? She continued. You. Zhao fucking grew even angrier and more desperate, blurting out, Though we've changed the marriage today, the whole city knows that I rejected you. Who would dare marry you now? The old madam couldn't sit idly by as Zhao fucking continued his tirade in the Jiang household. Just as she was about to speak, a cold voice came from a distance. Who would dare not marry her? Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 4. Though not particularly loud, the sound seemed to resonate like a clap of thunder across the plain, echoing clearly and distinctly in the ears of everyone present. His voice was cold, but it carried an indescribable aura of majesty. Simply hearing his voice made one want to bow down at his feet. So, who was it? Everyone's eyes turned toward the door, including Zhang Peihuan's. She couldn't help but feel that the voice was somehow familiar. A quaint carriage slowly entered. This was the general's mansion. Even Zhao fucking, the prince of Huainan, had to dismount from his sedan chair at the entrance and walk in. Yet, this man had the audacity to enter on a carriage? Zhao fucking considered himself a privileged young master in the capital who could do whatever he wanted. However, this stranger seemed even more arrogant than him. Most importantly, this person dared to refute his words in public. Where was the dignity of being a prince? Who are you? How dare you enter the general's mansion in a carriage? Before old Madame Jiang could say anything, Zhao fucking strode toward the carriage and questioned loudly. To his surprise, the man in the carriage merely smiled and didn't even bother lifting the curtains. How I enter the general's mansion is my own business. If the general's mansion thinks I'm not following the rules, they have the right to stop me. It's certainly not your place. At this point, the old madam stood up in the front hall, still confused about the situation. Zhang Peihuan quickly helped her up, and the two women made their way to the door, followed by the others. Zhao fucking's face turned red with anger. Seeing everyone coming out, he feared for his reputation and retorted, I have a marriage contract with the Jiang family, so their business is mine too. Upon hearing this, Zhang Ruiyan's cheeks flushed. Once she entered the Huainan family, she would likely be like Zhao fucking, not having to regard anyone in her sight. Zhao fucking suddenly realized something. This man hadn't appeared until he began mocking Zhang Peihuan, which meant they likely knew each other. You must be Miss Zhang's friend, right? Otherwise, why would you dare to defend her just now? However, as a prince, let me give you a piece of advice. If you want to help someone, choose the right time. If you accidentally help the wrong person, you may offend someone without even realizing it. Zhao fucking appeared to be offering a reminder, but anyone with common sense could tell it was actually a warning. Nonetheless, he had every reason to be self-assured. His father was the king of Huainan. Although he was a king of a different surname and had been distanced from politics for years, he still possessed the title of a king. As the heir of the Huainan king, Zhao fucking naturally held a prestigious status. What if I insist on helping today? As Zhao fucking's words lingered, a voice drifted out from the carriage once more. The voice was composed and leisurely, seemingly disregarding his words entirely. Then, the Huainan mansion will have to teach you a lesson. Seeing that his words had no effect, Zhao fucking resorted to invoking the name of the Huainan mansion. Huainan mansion, huh? The man in the carriage murmured, his cold voice exuding an indescribable authority. Zhao fucking, if your father knew you were using the name of the Huainan mansion to threaten me, I wonder what your fate would be. The man knew his name was Zhao fucking? It was at this moment that Zhao fucking realized something was amiss. However, considering he was the prince of the Huainan mansion, it wasn't unusual for others to know his name. I don't know what my fate would be, but I do know. Zhao fucking continued to smile. As he spoke, He raised his hand and forcefully tore the carriage curtain to the ground. He wanted to see who was inside, someone who dared to provoke him repeatedly. Yet as soon as he saw the person within, he froze in place. A chilling fear seemed to be creeping up from the soles of his feet. Chung! Chung! Before Zhao fucking could finish the name, the man inside had already stepped out of the carriage with his folding fan in hand. The winter sun wasn't particularly bright, but everyone could still see his face clearly. His handsome face was nearly flawless, each expression exuding an air of nobility. Most importantly, his eyes were incredibly cold in the entire capital. It was unlikely anyone could rival him. Grandmother, is he? Your Highness King Chung. Jiang Xijin was the first to react at the front hall entrance. Even though she had only met King Chung once, anyone who had seen him would never forget him. He was King Chung, Xiaonani. Who would have thought that the elusive Prince Chung, whose whereabouts even the current emperor often couldn't discern, would suddenly appear at the Jiang mansion like this? No wonder no one dared to stop him when he arrived in a carriage. The real question was, why had he come? By now, Xiaonani had gotten off the carriage, dressed entirely in white that blended in with the sky. If not for the rumors surrounding him, anyone might have mistaken him for an immortal depicted in a painting. Everyone was surprised by Xiaonani's sudden appearance. Among them, Zhang Peihuan was the most astonished. Not only did Xiaonani's presence make Zhang Peihuan feel uneasy, but something else was troubling her. How could this be? She murmured. Her lips parted slightly, and her brows furrowed in confusion. Why is it different from his previous life? Zhang Peihuan remembered very clearly that in her past life, when Zhao fucking came over to change the marriage, he and Zhang Rian pleaded with her in various ways. After she agreed, Zhao fucking turned his back on her, intentionally spreading rumors that made her a laughing stock in the capital. How could there be a visit from His Highness King Chung? As Zhang Peihuan was thinking, Xiaonani suddenly raised his head and looked in her direction. In his cold and piercing gaze, Zhang Peihuan immediately lowered her head guiltily. What's the matter? You can't even speak when you see me? Xiaonani withdrew his gaze and looked at Zhao fucking. Zhao fucking lost his balance and fell to his knees with a thud. Fucking didn't know that it was you, Your Highness King Chung. That's why just now What do you mean by that's why? Xiaonani asked coldly. Zhao fucking stuttered and couldn't speak for a long time, but this time Xiaonani answered for him. What? I didn't know that the Prince of Huainan was so daring and wanted to teach me a lesson? Although the King of Huainan was also a king, he was a king with a different surname. In the end, he was still a subject. Xiaonani, on the other hand, was the younger brother of His Majesty and the master of the Huainan family. Not to mention anything else, just that sentence just now was probably a serious crime punishable by death. At this point, Zhao fucking was already terrified to the point of nearly wetting his pants, kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy. Your Highness King Chung, fucking really didn't mean it. Please spare my life. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 5, Sparing Your Life is Possible. But, Xiaonani raised the corners of his eyes. How do we account for this carriage curtain? Zhao fucking's face darkened further. Forgive my ignorance, Your Highness. Please enlighten me. Let's settle this matter for 100,000 gold taels, Xiaonani said calmly. 100,000 gold taels. Hearing this number, Zhao fucking almost spat out a mouthful of blood on the spot. He had just paid Zhang Peihuan 100,000 taels of gold, and now Xiaonani was asking for the same amount. No matter how wealthy the Huainan mansion was, they couldn't withstand this kind of loss. However, survival was the top priority at the moment. I will send the gold to the Chung mansion as soon as possible. Xiaonani shook his head. No need for that. Just send it to the Jiang mansion. Why should the gold he paid to King Qing be sent to the Jiang mansion instead? Before Zhao fucking could figure out what was going on, Xiaonani had already walked past him. The old madam, who was standing at the door, immediately went up to greet Xiaonani. It's an honor to meet Your Highness King Chung, she said. The others followed closely behind. Although they had greeted him, everyone was still muttering in their hearts. This Jiang mansion and King Chung have never had any contact, let alone any friendship. What kind of wind blew today to invite this distinguished guest over? You may rise. Xiao Nani said casually as he walked into the front hall. The others could only follow. In a short while, everyone was back to the front hall, including Zhao Fucking. In the front hall, the atmosphere was quiet but strange. However, although Xiao Nanya's sudden visit had messed up the situation, the overall dynamics had not changed. Even though Zhao Fucking was humiliated in front of Xiao Nani, Zhou Rongfang from the second branch still had a flushed face and an inexplicable confidence as she stood there. As for Jiang Ruyun, she was even more so. She was now the rightful princess consort of Huainan's prince. Of the three branches of the Jiang family, the eldest branch, Jiang Hong, held the rank of a first-class official as a high-rank general. The second branch, Jiang Ruyun's father, Jiang Yuan, was a mere rank 5 guard commander. Although Jiang Ruyun was also the daughter of the Jiang family, she was inferior to Jiang Peihuan. Moreover, Jiang Peihuan was young and renowned for her bravery. Everyone outside knew about Jiang Peihuan, but who knew about her, Jiang Ruyun? Now that Jiang Peihuan had lost her marriage to the Prince of Huainan, she would soon become a laughingstock in the capital. The tides have shifted. The eldest branch has suppressed the second branch for so many years. It's time for the second branch to rise and shine. In the hall, everyone had their own thoughts. After a long pause, old madam finally spoke to Xiao Nani. Your Highness, you've come at an unfortunate time. The general was ordered to leave a few days ago, and I'm afraid he won't be back for a while. Although no one knew why Xiao Nani had come, the only person in the entire Jiang family with the right to speak to him was Jiang Hong. He must be here to find the general. As for speaking up for Jiang Peihuan just now, it was most likely because of Jiang Hong's influence. Hearing that Jiang Hong wouldn't return for a few more days, Zhao Fucking breathed a sigh of relief. Even if he had 10 times the courage, he wouldn't dare to oppose Jiang Hong. However, Xiao Nani shook his head. Old madam is mistaken. I didn't come today to find General Jiang. He wasn't here to find Jiang Hong. Just as the audience was confused, Xiao Nanya's lips curled up slightly. I came to propose marriage today. The front hall fell silent in an instant. Propose marriage? Did King Chang come here today to propose to one of the Jiang family's daughters? So which girl from the Jiang family did he fancy? Everyone looked at each other. The Jiang family only had 3 daughters. Jiang Peihuan was engaged before today, and Jiang Sijin was only 13. Only the second branch. Could it be that King Chang has taken a fancy to Jiang Ruyun? Zhou Rongfang was overjoyed, and quickly poked Jiang Ruyun with her elbow. Jiang Ruyun bit her lips and hesitated for a while before walking to Zhao Fucking's side righteously. Your Highness, I can't marry you. I already have my fiancé, Brother Zhao. Zhao Fucking knelt on the ground, feeling very touched. He had lost all his face in front of Xiao Nani just now, but now, he finally found some dignity. Haha, Xiao Nani sneered. If anyone else had done this, they would definitely be called rude, but when it was him, he looked elegant and content. Did I ever say that I want to marry you? Jiang Ruyun's face flushed red, and the surroundings became even quieter. Your Highness, the one you wish to propose to, could it be our eldest sister? Jiang Sijin asked directly. That's right. Xiao Nani smiled. With one sentence, the entire place fell silent. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 6 Today, His Highness King Cheng came to propose marriage to Jiang Peihuan. After a brief silence, the front hall of the Jiang household erupted in disbelief. How could the noble King Cheng possibly be interested in Jiang Peihuan? This was absolutely impossible. Even Jiang Peihuan was visibly surprised. Jiang Ruyun, unable to swallow her humiliation, blurted out, Your Highness, just a few days ago, my elder sister fell into the water and was seen being rescued by a man. More importantly, she had thought that marrying into the Huainan mansion would finally allow her to surpass her elder sister. But now, the unexpected appearance of Xiao Nani had completely disrupted her plans. Be quiet. The old madam quickly stopped her and prepared to apologize to Xiao Nani, but he waved his hand dismissively. Has anyone said that I was the one who saved Miss Jiang? So, the person who saved Jiang Peihuan, causing damage to her reputation, was Xiao Nani. Originally, because of this incident, Jiang Peihuan had endured countless sneers and ridicule. Zhao fucking even used it as a reason to break off their marriage. Now, far from being mocked, the women in town were likely envious of her. This time, even Jiang Peihuan herself was dumbfounded. Xiao Nani had not only shown up to propose marriage, but he also voluntarily mentioned saving her from drowning. What was his true intention? Peihuan, is this true? The old madam asked. Jiang Peihuan pursed her lips, secretly not wanting any connection with Xiao Nani. Grandmother, I was unconscious when I fell into the water that day. I only remember being saved by someone. As for the person who saved me, I can't recall. As soon as Jiang Peihuan finished speaking, Xiao Nani followed up. It doesn't matter if Miss Jiang doesn't remember. There were at least 7 or 8 guards with me that day who can testify. Jiang Peihuan was at a loss for words. Seeing that she couldn't avoid the truth, Jiang Peihuan stood up and bowed respectfully to Xiao Nani. I didn't know about this earlier, but now that I'm aware, I am grateful for your highness saving my life. Although your highness saved me that day, our relationship has always been purely innocent. Jiang Peihuan gathered her composure and spoke confidently. As for the marriage proposal, I must decline. Jiang Peihuan had just rejected His Highness King Cheng. Instantly, everyone gasped in shock. Who was Xiao Nani? Did Jiang Peihuan have a death wish? Surprisingly, Xiao Nani wasn't angry at being rejected. Miss Jiang, please reconsider carefully whether or not you wish to marry me. For Jiang Peihuan, the decision to marry King Cheng was not a problem. But just as she was about to refuse again, the old madam suddenly coughed. Ahem, ahem. The wise old madam understood that offending King Cheng could result in dire consequences for the entire Jiang family. Even if Jiang Peihuan didn't wish to marry him, she couldn't openly reject Xiao Nani in front of so many people, as it would embarrass King Cheng. Miss Jiang is happy to have caught your attention, Your Highness, old madam said with a smile, and continued. Miss Jiang is honored by your attention, Your Highness, old madam said with a smile, then continued. However, according to our customs, marriage is arranged by the parents and matchmakers. General Jiang is currently away, so perhaps we can discuss this matter after his return? Xiao Nani pondered for a moment and nodded. Very well then, I admit my haste. I shall return and propose on another day. After saying that, Xiao Nani stood up and glanced at Jiang Peihuan before leaving. Please accept this gift of 100,000 gold taels as a token of our meeting. With that, he entered his carriage and left. Once Xiao Nani had gone, everyone in the front hall looked at Jiang Peihuan with different eyes. She had managed to capture the heart of King Cheng. Jiang Ruyun was seething with anger, almost tearing her handkerchief to shreds. Why did all the good fortune always fall upon Jiang Peihuan? Zhao Fucking's face turned even uglier. Only now did he understand that it wasn't that he didn't want Jiang Peihuan, but that she didn't want him. Jiang Xijin, on the other hand, smiled happily. This King Cheng has quite the discerning taste. This was a matter of great importance, and old madam felt it was necessary to have a serious talk with Jiang Peihuan. She was about to speak up when everything came to an end. Suddenly, Jiang Peihuan ran outside. Elder sister, where are you going? Jiang Xijin called, but she didn't stop Jiang Peihuan. Where else could she go? She claimed she wasn't interested, but now she's probably having second thoughts, Zhou Rongfeng said. In fact, Jiang Peihuan was indeed chasing after Xiao Nani's carriage. But it wasn't regret that drove her. Rather, she had some questions she felt needed to be asked. After leaving the Jiang mansion, there was no trace of the carriage to be found. Jiang Peihuan continued to search along the tracks left by the carriage's wheels. Suddenly, when she passed through a rarely traversed alley, she heard a familiar voice. What? You don't want to marry me, but you can't bear to see me leave? Xiao Nani's voice surprised Jiang Peihuan. She looked toward the alley and saw his carriage parked there, but the coachman was nowhere to be seen. It seemed less like she had found him and more like he had been waiting for her. So, he knew she would chase after him. Jiang Peihuan took a deep breath and slowly walked to the side of the carriage. I have something I don't understand, so I came to ask your highness. I will tell you everything I know, Xiao Nani said. That day, your highness saved me when I fell into the water. Although your guards witnessed it, who would dare to say anything if you didn't want them to? Jiang Peihuan spoke slowly. Discussing the king in private was a capital crime, especially if the king was Xiao Nani. Moreover, wasn't that how it was in her past life? So, you thought I wouldn't come? Xiao Nani asked. Or even propose to you? Yes, Zhang Peihuan replied. A moment later, laughter echoed from inside the carriage. Soon, the laughter subsided, replaced by a serious tone. How can you be so sure? Zhang Peihuan was reborn, which was why she knew, but she couldn't tell him that. She pondered for a moment and was about to ask again, but unexpectedly, Xiao Nani answered the question in her heart. Because you and I are of the same kind. The same kind? Zhang Peihuan slightly furrowed her brow, unsure of what Xiao Nani meant. Just as she was about to speak, Xiao Nani interjected. Do you remember what you said to me when I saved you that day? Zhang Peihuan had been unconscious that day. How could she remember what she had said? Could it be that what she said to Xiao Nani in this life changed everything? I don't remember what I said that day. Please enlighten me, Your Highness, she requested. However, this time, it seemed that Xiao Nani was determined to keep her guessing. You'll find out later what you said. Your Highness, King Cheng, she wanted to inquire further, but suddenly, a sharp sound cut through the wind. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Zhang Peihuan raised her head and saw long arrows flying towards them. This was bad. An assassin was attacking. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 7. Zhang Peihuan instantly drew her soft whip from her waist and knocked 3 arrows to the ground. However, before she could catch her breath, countless sharp swords rushed towards her like a torrential downpour. The number of arrows was overwhelming, and their assault was ferocious. Zhang Peihuan feared it would be difficult to fend off the attack on her own. In the nick of time, Xiao Nani, who was inside the carriage, suddenly burst through the window, grabbed her, and leaped into the air. Almost simultaneously, the arrows shattered the carriage into pieces, causing even the horses to fall to the ground, wailing in pain. Don't let them get away. Out of nowhere, 7 or 8 men dressed in black descended from the sky, wielding swords in their hands. Xiao Nani landed on the ground with Zhang Peihuan in his arms, and the assassins immediately surrounded the pair. Having practiced martial arts from a young age, Zhang Peihuan could tell that these killers were all highly skilled. Someone had actually dared to assassinate King Cheng in broad daylight. Your Highness King Cheng, surrender now, one assassin demanded coldly. Xiao Nani narrowed his eyes, a flash of murderous intent crossing his gaze. You destroyed my carriage and killed my horses. Today, you will pay with your lives. The king's dominance was impressive. Pay with our lives? The man in black was infuriated by his words. King Cheng, don't be too arrogant. With that, the 7 or 8 men in black launched their attack simultaneously. Their long swords gleamed coldly, each strike deadly. Xiao Nani's expression turned grave as he spoke to Zhang Peihuan in a low voice. These people are targeting me. You should run away when you have the chance. After speaking, he raised his right hand and skillfully used his folding fan to shatter the wrist of an assassin. Seizing this brief opportunity, he quickly pushed Zhang Peihuan away. Dressed in white, Xiao Nani effortlessly navigated among the black-clad assassins, exuding luxury and nobility with every move of his fan. Despite being outnumbered 10-1, he showed no signs of fear and quickly gained the upper hand. It was clear that the assassins were no match for Xiao Nani, who would likely remain unscathed. However, just then, another group of 7 or 8 killers appeared from the sky. Not good. Xiao Nani had managed to handle the first wave of attackers, but it would be difficult to fend off twice as many. Zhang Peihuan instinctively whipped out her weapon again, but the assassins focused solely on Xiao Nani, paying her no heed. Realizing this, Zhang Peihuan decided not to act impulsively and instead spoke with a look of panic on her face. Please don't kill me, please. Despite having the advantage in numbers, the assassins struggled and failed to gain the upper hand. The outcome was uncertain if the fight continued. Upon hearing Zhang Peihuan's voice, the assassins suddenly shifted their focus. They remembered that Xiao Nani had a woman with him today, and by threatening her, they could potentially force him to surrender. 5 or 6 assassins immediately turned their attention to Jiang Peihuan and began to approach her. Nervously stepping back, Jiang Peihuan pleaded with them, saying, Don't. Her apparent fear caused the assassins to drop their guard, as they believed she posed no real threat as just a woman. Unexpectedly, just as the assassins closed in on her, Jiang Peihuan swiftly revealed a hidden whip and used it to knock one of the assassins to the ground. Her agility and martial arts prowess stunned the other assassins. Who would have thought that this seemingly weak woman would be so skillful in martial arts? Seizing the moment while the assassins were still in shock, Jiang Peihuan attacked again, whipping them one by one, just like Xiao Nani. The duo moved with fluidity and grace, fanning and whipping in tandem. They were unstoppable in their movements. The assassins fought back bravely, but soon only one was left. Please spare me, the assassin begged. Jiang Peihuan retrieved her whip and turned to Xiao Nani. Your Highness, we should spare his life and, however, before she could finish her sentence, Xiao Nani's fan blade was already aimed at the assassin's neck. Xiao Nani said, I told you before, today you must pay with your life for what you did. With his final words, the last assassin fell to the ground. The alley was now eerily silent. It was hard to believe how intense the situation was just moments ago. Jiang Peihuan hurried over to the assassin and checked his pulse. He was already dead. Your Highness, you shouldn't have killed him, she said. There must be a mastermind orchestrating these assassinations. If they had interrogated him thoroughly, they could find the person behind the plot and catch everyone involved. To her surprise, Xiao Nani said, even after killing him, I would still know who is the mastermind. Jiang Peihuan was surprised. Could even a noble person like King Cheng be in danger? She suddenly remembered Xiao Nani's fate in her past life. In this aspect alone, they were indeed on the same path. You saved my life? Xiao Nani looked at her with a serious look in his eyes. He had always heard that the daughters of the Jiang family were brave, but he didn't know that she was courageous and resourceful as well. Without her help today, even Xiao Nani would have faced some difficulties. Your Highness saved me before and today, I returned the favor. So, I guess we're even now, said Jiang Peihuan. Since they were even, she hoped he would forget about the marriage proposal. Xiao Nani looked at her confidently and said, even without your help, I could have handled these assassins. And remember, if I hadn't saved you earlier, you would have been dead. We can't be even. You still owe me. Jiang Peihuan was speechless. Keep my words in mind, Xiao Nani continued. The war in the Northern Territory is almost over. They'll come back when General Jiang returns in a few days. The war in the Northern Territory had already ended. Jiang Peihuan's eyes widened in surprise. When she regained her composure, Xiao Nani had already left. This time, Jiang Peihuan didn't chase after Xiao Nani. Instead, she hurried toward the general's mansion. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 8. As soon as Jiang Peihuan returned to the courtyard, Yue hurried to greet her. However, before she could say anything, Peihuan rushed into the house, her face full of worry. Yue and Cui exchanged glances, assuming it was due to the marriage swap and King Cheng's proposal. Miss, we truly let off some steam today. I heard that when Prince Huainan left, he looked utterly defeated, Yue said. Everyone in the mansion is talking about how King Cheng himself has come to propose to you in person. How could you possibly be interested in Prince Huainan? Cui added. Isn't that true? The second branch has spent so much effort, only to end up with something you don't want, Yue replied. Yue and Cui chatted happily. Despite their lively conversation, Jiang Peihuan sat down at her desk, picked up a pen, and began writing, her expression even more serious than before. Today was the 12th day of December, the day Zhao Fuqing came to request the bride exchange. However, for Jiang Peihuan, what was truly important wasn't the bride exchange request. 3 months ago, the northern region of Deqi was in danger. Emperor Qiyuan issued a decree, and her father Jiang Hong, mother Shuiyan, and brother Jiang Changbai led the Flying Feather Army to the Northern Territory. The war was extremely perilous, with cities falling one by one before the army arrived. The capital was even in danger of falling if Hanga Pass was breached. Fortunately, with the help of her family and the Flying Feather Army, Deqi quickly turned the tide in the north, reclaiming lost cities within 3 months. About a month later, the family received good news that the three of them would return triumphantly. Sadly, while the Jiang family eagerly awaited their return, they learned that their elder brother, Jiang Chengbai, had died in the Northern Territory. As a soldier, he did not die on the battlefield but from an illness. The news devastated Jiang Peihuan in her previous life. When Jiang Hong and Shui Yin finally returned, they appear to have aged 30 years overnight. Jiang Chengbai was a young and talented man, well known as the Jiang family's successor, having followed their father to lead troops in war since he was young. After Jiang Chengbei's death, the Jiang family had no successor. Later, Jiang Peihuan, as a daughter, took on the responsibility of the entire Jiang family. When her brother died, Jiang Peihuan was deeply saddened and thought it was just an accident. But now, she feared someone was behind it. She wondered who in the far north would have wanted to harm her brother. Could it be? Without time to explain the full story, she wrote 4 words on the letter. Be careful of Ming Ai. Jiang Peihuan quickly sealed the letter in an envelope and handed it to Cui Er. She then wrote down a prescription. When her brother died of illness, Jiang Peihuan had studied extensively about his condition. She discovered that it wasn't an incurable disease, but rather a result of scarce medicine in the cold border region. Follow this prescription to obtain the medicine, pack it up, and have a trustworthy person send it to father in the northern region. Remember to be quick. After sending the medicine and letter, Jiang Peihuan still couldn't calm down. Mengyi was her father's trusted aide, and her father had complete faith in him. She hoped her message would reach her father and that he would take action to save her brother. Soon, night fell. Usually at this time, the entire Jiang family would gather in the main hall for dinner. But because of the day's events, the family sat around the table, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, old Madame Jiang spoke up, Ruyun, in a few days, you will be marrying into the Huainan family. As a married woman, you must always be mindful of your behavior. She continued, in the past, you were just a girl with a fiery personality who spoke her mind. But once you are a married woman, you must behave with more decorum. Otherwise, people will laugh at the Jiang family. Jiang Ruyun was already feeling upset, and Grandma Jiang's words only made things worse. She knew her grandmother was chastising her for speaking out of turn in front of King Cheng earlier. All of them were daughters of the Jiang family and legitimate children. So why did Grandma favor Jiang Peihuan more? She gritted her teeth and forced out a response. Yes, I understand. Jiang Peihuan remained silent throughout the conversation, not even looking at her sister. The indifference only made Jiang Ruyun even angrier. Today, Zhao Fucking's wedding should have made Jiang Peihuan the laughingstock of everyone. However, she appeared quite pleased with herself, all thanks to King Cheng. Jiang Ruyun suddenly had a mischievous idea and smiled. Speaking of which, I have to admit, eldest sister is quite talented to have caught King Cheng's eye. We sisters can only envy such a skill. Jiang Xijin, unaware of the hidden meaning, chimed in. King Cheng saved eldest sister when she fell into the water. He must have taken an interest in her then. Hearing this, Jiang Ruyun scoffed. Do you really think His Highness King Cheng would take an ordinary woman lightly? Xiaonani was famous for being picky when it came to women. There would be a long line of women wanting to marry into his estate. At his age, he was still unmarried and had even rejected Emperor Qiyuan's marriage proposal. Jiang Ruyun didn't believe that King Cheng fell in love with Jiang Peihuan just because he saved her from drowning. No one in the entire kingdom of Deqi would believe that either. I doubt that's the only reason, Jiang Ruyun muttered under her breath. After Jiang Ruyun's comment, Zhou Rongfang got fired up. Peihuan, your grandmother was right. We can't say anything we shouldn't, or people will laugh at us for not having manners. But if you do something shameful and it gets out, your reputation will be ruined. Jiang Peihuan raised her head and found it amusing that the two were now rushing to lecture her. Second aunt is right. If you do something shameful, your reputation will be ruined. But if you do anything that goes against our principles and tarnishes our reputation, as Jiang Peihuan spoke, her gaze turned towards Jiang Ruyun. You will be drowned in a pig cage. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 9 Drown in Pig Cage. At those words, Jiang Ruyan's face changed abruptly, and the spoon in her hand fell to the ground. She must have found out something. Otherwise, she definitely wouldn't have mentioned this repeatedly in front of her. But the question was, how did she find out? Jiang Ruyun lowered her eyes, looking utterly pitiful. Elder sister, what I said just now didn't mean that. You misunderstood me. It's fine if you know whether it's a misunderstanding or not, second sister. Why do you have to come and explain it to me? Zhang Peihuan laughed lightly. Jiang Ruyun was taken aback, but her eyes still glistened with tears. Elder sister, I know you resent me because of the change in our marriages. I didn't mean for it to happen. If you're unhappy, elder sister, why don't we call off the engagement? Retreating to advance had always been an effective strategy for Jiang Ruyun. These tactics weren't difficult to see through, but they were very effective on the former Jiang Peihuan. However, what did she get in return for all the concessions she made in the past? Ruyun, what nonsense are you talking about? Zhou Rongfang was a little anxious and kept pushing Jiang Ruyun. Since the marriage has already been changed, then this marriage is valid. Second sister, you need not say such words to me. Jiang Peihuan spoke as she scooped up a bowl of soup. The soup was sweet and smooth, but when it reached her mouth, she felt a little bitter. Moreover, as people drink water, they know whether it's cold or warm. We might not know if it's a blessing or a curse until the end. Having been reborn, Jiang Peihuan knew what kind of person Zhao fucking was. He may seem eager to change the marriage and marry Jiang Ruyun, looking deeply in love with her. However, in the years after they got married, Zhao fucking never stopped for a moment, surrounded by an endless stream of women. Jiang Ruyun married into the Huainan king's mansion, seemingly climbing up a high branch. But she couldn't deal with her in-laws, couldn't persuade her husband, and couldn't handle the numerous concubines. Especially during the years when the Jiang family was in decline, Jiang Ruyun suffered abuse and torment in the Huainan family. Unable to bear a son, she was driven out by the Huainan family with a divorce letter and hanged herself in the mansion. If she didn't experience some hardship, she might never wake up. As she thought about it, Jiang Peihuan finished the soup in her bowl. All right, no talking while eating or sleeping. Have you forgotten the rules of the Jiang family? Old Madam spoke again. Everyone stopped talking and quickly lowered their heads to eat dinner. However, Jiang Ruyun and Madame Zhou couldn't swallow their anger. As a result, after dinner, the two of them had just returned to Autumn Tang Court when Jiang Ruyun started smashing things with an unhappy expression. All right, what's the point of throwing a tantrum now? You'll only harm your own health, Zhou Rongfang advised. Mother, elder sister was obviously cursing me. Jiang Ruyun complained. We went to great lengths to snatch her marriage away, but now, I have become the object of ridicule in this family. Hearing this, Zhou Rongfang snorted. The reason Jiang Peihuan is so proud is because of King Cheng. In fact, Zhou Rongfang could not understand this matter at all. However, she was certain that Xiao Nani would never fall for Jiang Peihuan. I don't know what King Cheng sees in a woman who's more manly than a man. Jiang Ruyun added. What else could it be? I suspect that today's incident is mostly because His Highness King Cheng has some connection with the general, so he helped Jiang Peihuan out, Zhou Rongfang speculated. He left after resolving the problem. Do you really think he would marry Jiang Peihuan? Jiang Ruyun nodded. Thinking about it carefully, it was indeed possible. But mother, I've already lost face. Everyone in the residence is talking. No rush. Don't worry, Zhou Rongfang reassured. Holding Jiang Ruyun's hand and gently comforting her, a fierce look in her eyes. Jiang Peihuan thinks she can turn the tables by involving King Cheng, but she doesn't realize she's just inviting trouble. Speaking of which, it's her own fault. Of all people, she had to involve King Cheng. Mother, what do you mean? Jiang Ruyun seemed to understand something. Zhou Rongfang chuckled and whispered into Jiang Ruyun's ear. The night passed quickly. Early the next morning, Jiang Peihuan had just woken up in a daze when Chui'er entered the room to give her an update. Miss, I've already handed the letter and medicine to Deputy General Liu. He left for the north early this morning and should be able to deliver everything in about 5 days. Jiang Peihuan nodded. She hoped these items would work and save her brother from his tragic fate of dying in the Northern Territory as he did in his previous life. Also, the king of Huainan sent someone to deliver silver notes this morning, Chui'er said as she handed over a stack of notes. I've counted them. It's exactly 200,000 gold taels. Zhang Peihuan took the silver notes and smiled. It was only the second day, and the Huainan family had already hurriedly sent the silver notes. They were probably afraid of Xiao Nani. Zhang Peihuan didn't love money, but her experiences in her previous life made her understand that sometimes only money could solve many problems. However, at the mention of Xiao Nani, Zhang Peihuan suddenly remembered what he had said yesterday. So what did she say to Xiao Nani when she fell into the water and fainted? After thinking for a long time without reaching any conclusion, Zhang Peihuan decided to stop thinking about it. She put on her coat and was about to get out of bed when Yu'er rushed in. Miss, something's wrong. The entire capital is spreading rumors. They're saying, at this point, Yu'er suddenly wanted to say something but stopped, making Chui'er anxious. Tell us what they're spreading. Yu'er had no choice but to reveal everything. Everyone in the capital is saying that you, Miss, have feelings for His Highness King Cheng, so you deliberately seduced him. They're also saying that you falling into the water a few days ago was all staged, just so you could be saved by His Highness King Cheng and make him take responsibility for you. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 10 Nonsense. Before Zhang Peihuan could react, Chui'er became anxious and said, that day when Miss fell into the water, she almost lost her life. How could it be a pretense? And as for King Cheng, he was clearly the one who took the initiative to come to our manor and propose marriage to the young lady. Yu'er nodded repeatedly. Everyone in the Zhang family knew about this. But the problem was, how did the news spread out and turn out to be completely different? Now, Zhang Peihuan had successfully passed the matter of changing the marriage. However, because of Xiao Nani, Zhang Peihuan had become the public enemy of all the women in the capital. No way. Who is making up stories about the young miss like this? They'll tear her mouth apart. Chui'er rolled up her sleeves and prepared to go out and confront those people who were talking nonsense. However, before she could even take 2 steps, she was reprimanded by Zhang Peihuan. Stop right there. Miss. Chui'er was especially unwilling. They slandered you like that. Are you going to just watch helplessly? Then let me ask you, if you go out and reason with them now, will they believe you? Zhang Peihuan asked. Chui'er shook her head subconsciously. Since that's the case, why waste your breath? Zhang Peihuan said as she put on her coat. Although she was dressed plainly, her years of martial arts practice gave her a tall and straight posture, emanating an indescribable presence. Besides, I know who did this. Miss, do you mean that someone did this on purpose? Yu'er seemed to understand something. Zhang Peihuan chuckled. Although she did not say anything, everything was clear. Zhang Peihuan's mother, Shuiyan, had always been in charge of the Zhang estate, and her housekeeper liked to use military rules, so the Zhang family was very tight-lipped. If it wasn't for someone deliberately spreading the news, the incident yesterday probably wouldn't have spread at all. If anyone had a reason to do so, wouldn't it be the second branch? How detestable! Chui'er said. It's done. A smile flashed across Zhang Peihuan's eyes. She squeezed the banknote in her hand. Since she had already gotten the item, why should she care about these rumors? Moreover, rumors came and went away quickly. Zhang Peihuan put away the banknotes, got up, and went to the courtyard to practice her whip. It was cold outside today, but Zhang Peihuan was sweating heavily in the courtyard. She tried her best to stay present and not dwell on the unbearable past. But the more she tried, the more those painful memories plagued her thoughts. The Zhang family, her brothers and sisters, her father and mother, and Xiao Juanhao. Zhang Peihuan delivered a final blow that split the opposite shelf into 2, frightened Chui'er as she entered the room. Zhang Peihuan was completely exhausted as she sat down on a stone bench. Chui'er approached her with a mystery smile. Miss, I have good news. Someone from the Qing King Mansion just arrived. Qing King Mansion. Hearing these 3 words, Zhang Peihuan suddenly gripped the whip in her hand tightly. The bone-chilling coldness almost swallowed her. At this time in her previous life, Zhang Peihuan had fallen in love with Xiao Juanhao. She liked his literary talent and his gentleness. When he smiled, it was as warm as the spring sun. Although Xiao Juanhao was friendly and gentle to her, he was mostly distant. Despite her best efforts, she could never figure out what he was thinking, often feeling disappointed and troubled by it. Now, she could see clearly that it was just Xiao Juanhao playing hard to get. Suppressing the emotions in her heart, Jiang Peihuan raised her head to look at Cui. What did they say? Cui excitedly said, Pei Wu, who was beside His Highness the King of Qing, said that His Highness King Qing has something to tell you. He wants to the building of pines and cranes tonight. This time, Jiang Peihuan remained silent. However, Cui continued to talk excitedly. Speaking of which, His Highness, the King Qing, hasn't sent anyone to deliver a message in quite some time. He must have heard about yesterday's incident, Cui said. Previously, His Highness did not dare to express his feelings to Miss because he was concerned about misengagement. Now that the marriage had changed to your sister, he won't have any more concerns, she continued. After Cui finished speaking, Yu smiled. Although others might not know about it, Yu and Cui knew very well that their young lady had a crush on the King Qing. Unexpectedly, Jiang Peihuan suddenly sneered. Haha, is that really the case? She asked. Xiao Juanhao didn't care about Zhao fucking. The real reason why he felt so threatened and couldn't wait to send someone over was probably because of the rumors about her and Xiao Nani in the capital. The second branch had gone to great lengths to tarnish her reputation, but she had not expected that a strange combination of factors would lead to Xiao Juanhao, this big snake. Even Xiao Juanhao would be afraid that the woman he had been holding tightly in his hands would suddenly fall in love with the current King Qing. After all, one wrong move could lead to the loss of the entire game. He, Xiao Juanhao, couldn't afford to lose. Since young lady have nothing to do today, would you like me to help you with your grooming? Yu suggested, hoping to please Jiang Peihuan. No, thank you. Jiang Peihuan declined without hesitation. Please inform the Qing prince's household that I fell into the water and have not fully recovered. Therefore, I cannot attend the appointment, she instructed. Moreover, as His Highness the King Qing and I are unmarried, our interactions should not be misconstrued, as it could damage our reputations, she added. Understood, Cui replied. She seemed confused, but she didn't dare to ask any more questions. Yu looked at Jiang Peihuan and could not help but ask, Miss, are you upset with His Highness King Qing? Upset? Jiang Peihuan smiled at the suggestion. How could she be upset with the person who had caused the death of her entire family? All she wanted was his life. But she didn't want to simply kill Xiao Juanhao. He wanted to take revenge on many others as well, one by one, without leaving any behind. At the same time, in the Qing King's mansion, after Xiao Juanhao sent Pei Wu to the Jiangmaxian, he had already packed up. He was dressed in a blue brocade robe that was low-key but also somewhat gorgeous. You mean, she refused? Xiao Junhao's face darkened when he heard the news from Pei Wu. Yes, Miss Jiang's friend Cui said that she is still recovering and unable to leave the house. She even said, Miss Jiang has yet to marry, and she's worried that the interaction may tarnish each other's reputations. Xiao Junhao's expression became increasingly grim as he listened. In the end, he simply couldn't sit still and stood up. In the past, Jiang Peihuan had always been obedient to him and had never said no. But now, after only a few days of estrangement, how could she become so different? Could the rumors be true that she had taken an interest in King Cheng? Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 11. No, Jiang Peihuan could only belong to him. Only then could he control the Jiang family. As he thought about the Jiang family, Xiao Junhao's expression returned to normal. Go and prepare some valuable medicinal herbs to send to the general's estate. Also, prepare some exquisite jewelry. Yes. Pei Wu had been by Xiao Junhao's side for many years and could understand his thoughts just by observing his expression. I'll prepare everything right away. I believe Miss Jiang will be delighted to receive these gifts. Go and deliver them personally. Say it's a token of my affection. Hearing Pei Wu's words, Xiao Junhao's eyes flashed with pride. Jiang Peihuan had always favored him. She might have rejected his invitation, resenting him for ignoring her for so long. With these gifts, her anger would subside. The master and servant of the King Qing mansion believed these gifts would make Jiang Peihuan feel grateful. However, when the gifts arrived at the Jiang mansion, her eyes were filled with coldness and mockery. It seemed that Xiao Juanhao was genuinely panicking, even going so far as to send these items. But when she saw the jewelry, the mockery in Jiang Peihuan's eyes deepened. She had joined her father in battle at 14 and never cared for finery, so all these gifts was nothing more than a calculated move. Miss, Pei Wu is still outside. Would you like to see him? Seeing that Jiang Peihuan hadn't spoken for some time, Chui'er couldn't help but ask, "Tell him to leave."
Yes.
"Guard Pei, please return. My young lady isn't feeling well and cannot receive guests." Next, Yuer's emotionless voice was heard from outside the door. Pei Wu glanced at the closed door, his eyes revealing anger. He inwardly cursed Jiang Peihuan for not recognizing kindness, but considering he was at the Jiang family residence, he stiffly said, "In that case, I won't disturb the eldest Miss rest. Miss, what should we do with these items?" After sending Pei Wu away, Yuer returned to the room. "Keep the herbs and sell the jewelry for money. Starting tomorrow, let's to the city outskirts and serve the porridge to the citizens. People may be guilty, and things are innocent." However, she didn't want to keep anything related to Xiao Juanhao. Therefore, using it for charity was perfect. "Miss, since we are going to give out porridge outside the city, then our plum garden needs to find 2 servant girls. Otherwise, it will be too much work for me and Chui'er. There's no need for 2 people. Just 1 person is enough. Go and see if there's anyone suitable." In her previous life, she only had Yuer and Chui'er by her side, but both of them died tragically in the end. In this life, she didn't want to have too many people by her side, but adding 1 more person was fine. King Cheng's palace. The man dressed in white was focused on the information in his hand. The content was none other than Jiang Peihuan's life. For some reason, when he thought of her, he wanted to know everything about her. It was a thick stack of papers, but Xiao Nani quickly finished reading it. The more he understood, the more interested he was in the girl. Han Feng casually leaned against the bookshelf at the side. Seeing his master's serious expression, he suddenly became interested. "Master, why are you so concerned about the eldest daughter of the Jiang family? Could it be that the rumors are true? That Miss Jiang intentionally seduced you, causing you to fall for her at first sight? Where did you hear all this from?" Xiao Nani carefully put away the documents and coldly looked at his guard. "Do I even need to ask? Rumors are circulating everywhere that Miss Jiang deliberately fell into the water to reel you in. Have these rumors already spread? Indeed, even the servants in our palace are discussing it privately." "Really?" Hearing Han Feng's words, Xiao Nani casually leaned back and tapped the table with his long fingers. "Master, aren't you angry?" "Why should I be angry?" Han Feng was at a loss for words. Others might not know, but how could he not? His master despised women the most. Why were there such rumors now? Not only was he not angry, but he also seemed somewhat pleased. Could it be? Han Feng's eyes suddenly widened, and he looked at Xiao Nani excitedly. Catching sight of his secret guard's strange and thrilled expression, Xiao Nani coldly glanced at Han Feng and spoke in a deep voice. "Do you believe he'll gouge out your eyeballs and feed them to the dogs?" "Master, if you gouge out my eyes, no one will help you gather information on Miss Jiang. Go and call Yi Xiao."
Yes.
Seeing that Xiao Nani was discussing serious matters, Han Feng quickly straightened up. A moment later, a woman dressed in black entered Xiao Nani's study. She had a delicate appearance, but radiated a chilly aura. "Master, you were looking for me." Upon seeing Xiao Nani, Yi Xiao knelt and bowed. "I want you to go to the Jiang family and protect their eldest daughter." "Yes, as your command." Upon hearing Xiao Nani's words, Yi Xiao's eyes revealed a hint of doubt, but the rules of the secret guards prompted her to nod immediately. The next morning, before daybreak, Jiang Peihuan had already practiced her whip for 2 hours. As she prepared to return to her room, she heard Yuer's voice. "All of you wait here. Miss, why didn't you sleep a little longer?" Upon seeing Jiang Peihuan, Yuer hurried over and asked. "I couldn't sleep." After responding, Jiang Peihuan turned and noticed the 3 people standing there. All 3 were dressed in green cotton clothes, But Jiang Paihuan's gaze was inevitably drawn to Yi Xiao. Miss, I've chosen these 3 people. Which one would you like to keep? What's your name? Jiang Peihuan approached Yi Xiao and asked softly. This servant's name is Yi Xiao. Please. Before Yi Xiao could finish, Jiang Paihuan's whip flew towards her. Instantly, Yi Xiao's aura changed. She exchanged blows with Jiang Peihuan, barehanded. After a short while, she managed to grasp Jiang Paihuan's whip. How dare you attack the young miss? Yue, having been by Jiang Paihuan's side for years, had some martial arts skills but was only slightly stronger than an average person. Yi Xiao, however, was clearly a professional. After scolding Yi Xiao, Yue knelt before Jiang Peihuan. Miss, I'm at fault for not realizing she was skilled in martial arts. Please punish me. Stand up first. Jiang Peihuan glanced at Yue indifferently before approaching Yi Xiao, who was already kneeling. Yi Xiao was already kneeling on the ground. I wasn't aware the Jiang family had such a remarkable maid. Jiang Paihuan's voice was faint but carried a chill when it reached Yi Xiao's ears. It felt similar to her master's aura. Tell me, who sent you? Jiang Peihuan sat down on the chair Yue had brought and asked coldly. Eldest young lady, please forgive me. I was only following orders. Whose orders? His Highness, King Cheng. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 12 Xiao Nani? Why him again? Jiang Peihuan looked at Yi Xiao kneeling on the ground, her eyes showing confusion. After a moment of silence, she directly addressed Yi Xiao. You should go. Go back and tell your master not to do such things again. With that, Jiang Peihuan got up from her chair and walked into her room. A gust of wind brushed past her ears. A hint of hostility in her eyes, Jiang Peihuan swung her whip behind her. I've long heard that the eldest daughter of the Jiang family has practiced martial arts since childhood. Her skills are outstanding. She truly lives up to her reputation. This voice? Speak of the devil. Greetings to King Cheng. Releasing the whip in her hand, Jiang Peihuan walked forward and bowed. Xiao Nani looked at the person in front of him. Because she had been practicing, her long hair was tied up behind her with a hairband. She wore a green narrow-sleeved top and a long dress. There was no makeup or jewelry on her, but she had an ethereal aura. Xiao Nani was momentarily stunned. Elder sister, I heard from Cui that you're going to distribute porridge outside the city. You, King Cheng? Jiang Xijin rushed into the plum garden, only to unexpectedly see Xiao Nani. Your Highness, why are you in my elder sister's garden? Miss Jiang, please stand up. Hearing Jiang Xijin's voice, Xiao Nani regained his senses. Looking at the curious Jiang Xijin, Xiao Nani said seriously, I was attacked yesterday. Fortunately, your sister saved me. I came here today to thank her. Young miss, this is the thank you gift I prepared. As soon as he finished speaking, a wooden box appeared in Xiao Nani's hand. He opened the box, revealing a pair of daggers inside. Elder sister, it's the Yuan Yang dagger. Before Jiang Peihuan could speak, Jiang Xijin exclaimed in surprise. Third miss has good eyesight. Xiao Nani glanced at Jiang Xijin and said gently. Then, he looked at Jiang Peihuan. Jin, go find Cui first. We'll go outside the city to distribute porridge in an hour. Yes, elder sister. Jiang Xijin looked at the yin yang dagger reluctantly but bowed to Xiao Nani and left after hearing Jiang Paihuan's words. Yi Xiao glanced at Xiao Nani and moved to the side. Then, Xiao Nani looked at Yue. Under his gaze, her legs trembled, but she stood her ground. Jiang Peihuan noticed this and frowned, saying coldly, Your Highness, are you aware that barging into a lattice chamber could harm her reputation? Who would dare? The man's simple words conveyed power and dominance. Jiang Peihuan was momentarily speechless. Of course, no one would dare to tarnish Your Highness King Cheng's name. It's just that I am a mere girl and don't dare to joke about my reputation. So, Your Highness, please leave and don't return in the future. Also, please take your people with you. Casting a glance at Yi Xiao, Jiang Peihuan headed to her room. She had only taken 2 steps when she felt a grip on her wrist. Are you angry? Jiang Peihuan didn't know if it was her imagination, but she actually saw some nervousness in Xiao Nanya's eyes. She looked at the man's hand and frowned. Seeing her expression, he quickly let go but still reached out to stop her. Rest assured, I will handle those rumors. Your Highness, you need not worry about those rumors. They are just idle talk and will fade with time. When she said this, Jiang Paihuan's expression was calm and indifferent. She was neither angry nor concerned, as if it was irrelevant. For some reason, seeing her like this, Xiao Nani felt a sense of defeat. However, he was always patient and not in a hurry. Xiao Nani suddenly smiled as he pushed the wooden box into Jiang Paihuan's hands. In a low voice, he said, "This is my gift to you. Your Highness is too kind. The pendant was just a token of my gratitude for you saving my life that day. You should take back this gift. I will never take back what I have given out. If young miss doesn't like it, just throw it away." Before Jiang Peihuan could finish, Xiao Nani interrupted her. Seeing the warmth in the man's eyes diminish, she realized that the person before her was King Cheng, the powerful imperial uncle. She couldn't afford to offend him and bring trouble to the Jiang family. After a few seconds of silence, she bowed to Xiao Nani. "Thank you, Your Highness. No need for such formalities." Seeing Jiang Peihuan accept the gift, Xiao Nani's uneasiness vanished, replaced by a smile. As she observed the changeable man, Jiang Peihuan grew more cautious. Having accepted the item, it was time for him to leave. "Yi Xiao is my secret guard, skilled in disguise and medicine. Although yesterday's assassins are all dead, I can't guarantee that you won't be affected by my presence. Having Yi Xiao by your side ensures your safety, so let her stay with you. Yi Xiao, from today, I officially declare that your only master is Miss Jiang. Do you understand?"
Yes.
"Greetings, young Mississippi." Yi Xiao approached Jiang Peihuan and respectfully bowed. Jiang Peihuan wanted to refuse, but the recent events made her realize the man before her was dominant and couldn't be denied, so she nodded. Just an hour later, Jiang Peihuan, accompanied by Cui Er and Yi Xiao, took Jiang Xijin out of the city. "Elder sister? Go ahead, speak your mind." From the moment they left the residence, Jiang Peihuan noticed that Jiang Xijin kept glancing at her, looking like she wanted to say something but hesitated. "Elder sister, you and His Highness King Cheng, don't speak nonsense." Before Jiang Xijin could finish, Jiang Peihuan interrupted her softly. "King Cheng is the emperor's brother and the powerful imperial uncle. He is not someone for you to discuss. Don't bring this up again. Understand?" "I understand, elder sister. I apologize for my mistake." Jiang Hong had been fighting all year round, and Shuiyan had to manage the entire Jiang mansion. Her health had been worsened over the years, so the task of disciplining Jiang Xijin fell to Jiang Peihuan. Jiang Xijin, the youngest daughter of the Jiang family, had been pampered since childhood and was arrogant. However, she held immense respect for her elder sister, Jiang Peihuan. Seeing how obedient Jiang Xijin was, Jiang Peihuan couldn't help but think of her previous life. Her heart softened, and she reached out to hold Jiang Xijin's hand. She gently reminded her, "Xijin, it'll protect you. Just grow up peacefully and be happy. Eldest sister, I've grown up, and it'll protect you too. I won't let anyone bully you, especially second sister." Hearing Jiang Ruyan's name, a flicker of coldness flashed through Jiang Paihuan's eyes. "Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." Chapter 13, Young Miss, there's someone following us. At this moment, Yi Xiao suddenly spoke from outside the carriage. "Someone's following? Who is it?" Jiang Xijin quickly lifted the curtain, and the carriage behind them came into view. After taking a closer look, she turned to Jiang Peihuan and said, "Eldest sister, it seems to be from our household. Yi Xiao, stop the carriage."
Yes.
Shortly after, the carriage behind caught up. The curtain was lifted, and Jiang Ruyun stepped out, holding a servant girl's hand. "Eldest sister, you're so biased. When you decided to leave the city to distribute porridge, why did you only bring Xijin and not inform me? Is it because Xijin is your real sister?" Hearing this, Jiang Xijin's eyes flashed with anger. Just as she was about to lift the curtain, Jiang Peihuan held her hand. "I didn't inform you, but you're here now, aren't you? Since you're here, let's go." Hearing Jiang Paihuan's words, Jiang Ruyan's eyes were filled with anger. However, she restrained herself, remembering her purpose for coming. Eldest sister, grandmother sent me here. I know you don't like me, but even if you're unhappy, you can't disobey her orders. If grandmother knew what you did, you'd likely be severely punished. Jiang Peihuan lifted the window curtain, her gaze falling directly on Jiang Ruyan's stomach. Jiang Ruyan's eyes darkened, but she didn't dare to speak. When she noticed Jiang Peihuan staring at her stomach, panic flickered in her eyes. Did she really know? Let's go. Thankfully, Jiang Peihuan lowered the curtain at that moment. With the curtain blocking her view, Jiang Ruyan finally sighed in relief. Second sister is so annoying. As the carriage moved, Jiang Sijin muttered angrily, her voice loud enough for the carriage behind to hear. Sijin, remember this. No matter how much you dislike your second sister, you must stand united with her in front of others, as long as she's part of the Jiang family. So, if she upsets me at home, can I use a whip on her? Hearing Jiang Paihuan's words, Jiang Sijin rolled her eyes and probed. Jiang Peihuan doted on her lively sister, but she maintained a serious tone. If you're not afraid of father's whip, then you can whip your second sister. At the mention of their father, Jiang Hong, Sijin immediately closed her mouth. In the entire Jiang family, no one but Jiang Peihuan was unafraid of Jiang Hong. And in the entire family, only Jiang Peihuan had never been whipped by him. Miss, we have arrived. As the carriage came to a halt, Cui Er lifted the curtain. Jiang Sijin was the first to jump off, turning to see Jiang Ruyan holding a servant girl's hand. She couldn't help but remark, second sister, you've trained in martial arts for years, yet you still need a servant girl to assist you in getting off the carriage. Hearing this, Jiang Ruyan almost fell from the carriage as she prepared to disembark. After steadying herself, she glanced disdainfully at Jiang Sijin. Sijin, don't say I haven't taught you well. A young lady should be gentle and virtuous. Otherwise, you won't be able to find a husband in the future. I won't listen to you. Elder sister's martial arts skills are exceptional, which is why King Chung admires her. When I grow up, I will be like elder sister, fighting and defeating enemies. That's the true spirit of a Jiang family daughter. Jiang Ruyan nearly choked with anger at these words. As she was about to retort, Jiang Peihuan alighted from the carriage. Casting a glance at her, Jiang Peihuan coldly instructed, since we're here, let's focus on distributing the porridge properly. If you deliberately cause trouble, I'll have someone send you back to the mansion immediately. Hearing Jiang Paihuan's words, Jiang Ruyan clenched her fists tightly. Miss, should we start now? The crowd is growing larger.
Yes.
The conflict in the Northern Territory had been ongoing for 6 months. As long as there was war, taxes would increase. Hanga Pass, being near the imperial city, was relatively better off. However, at this moment, countless people were lining up to receive porridge. Everyone, please form a line, and we'll begin serving the porridge. This wasn't the first time Cui Er had accompanied Jiang Peihuan in such an endeavor. After seeing her nod in agreement, she shouted to the crowd. People soon lined up, holding their bowls. Sijin, come and scoop the porridge. Just as Cui Er was about to reach out her hand, Jiang Peihuan looked at Jiang Sijin and spoke. Although she didn't know why her elder sister had made such an arrangement, Jiang Sijin still hurried forward when she heard her. However, as she prepared to start, she heard Jiang Ruyan's voice, eldest sister, Sijin is still young. I'm afraid she lacks the strength to do this task. Let me handle it. Jiang Sijin was at a loss for words. Just as she was about to speak, she saw Jiang Peihuan nod. All right, you do it. Recalling her elder sister's words in the carriage, Jiang Sijin swallowed her anger. Elder sister, they'll get the bowls. All right. 2 teams were formed to distribute porridge. Jiang Ruyan and Jiang Sijin handled one team, while Jiang Peihuan and Yi Shao took care of the other. Cui Er focused on keeping order in the lines. Miss, the crowd keeps growing, and I'm worried we won't have enough porridge for everyone today. For hours later, Cui Er ran to Jiang Peihuan's side with a head full of sweat and whispered, hearing this. Jiang Ruyan's heart filled with joy. Just as she was about to speak, she heard the sound of horse hooves. Young ladies, My master has sent you this rice. Han Feng dismounted his horse and walked up to Jiang Peihuan. When she turned her head, she saw dozens of sacks. The porridge made from these sacks could feed the entire imperial city for several days. Food, so much food. The people in line, all city residents, saw the carts of food with excited eyes. Jiang Peihuan couldn't even refuse the grains. She looked at Han Feng and whispered, "Where is your master?" Han Feng turned, revealing a modest carriage. "Chuyer, instruct the people to keep cooking porridge." "Yes, Mississippi. You guys, please help unload the food." Han Feng glanced at Jiang Peihuan's back and spoke to those behind him. Jiang Ruyun, dumbfounded by the scene, looked at Han Feng walking over and asked, "Excuse me, sir, who is your master?" "My master is His Highness King Cheng." "King Cheng? King Cheng again?" Hearing this, Jiang Ruyun's eyes darkened instantly, while Jiang Sijin smiled in satisfaction. "Sijin, I'm a bit tired. Help me serve porridge, and he'll go rest for a while." After saying this, Jiang Ruyun walked away. Watching her leave, Sijin's eyes filled with anger. However, remembering her elder sister's warning, she still asked, "Are you okay?" "Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." Chapter 14. I'm fine, just a little tired. They'll be better after a short rest. Jiang Sijin was busy serving porridge and didn't pay further attention to Jiang Ruyun. After leaving, Jiang Ruyun walked toward the back. She stopped after putting some distance between herself and the group. "Miss?" At that moment, Jiang Ruyun's servant girl, Shi hurried to her side. Seeing her, Jiang Ruyun quickly asked, "How is it? Did you find the person I asked you to?" "I found them." Shi spoke softly, glancing at the distant group. Hearing her words, a smile appeared in Jiang Ruyun's eyes. She was eager to see how Jiang Peihuan would handle the situation. "Miss, serving porridge was approved by Grandma Jiang. If she finds out about this, I'm afraid." "Shut up," Jiang Ruyun coldly glared at Shi, her eyes filled with anger. "Only you and I know about this. If you don't say anything, no one will know it was me. Or are you planning to betray me?" As she uttered those words, Jiang Ruyun's expression darkened. Shi quickly knelt down. "Miss, please don't be angry. I would never dare." "Humph. Don't forget that I am your master." Worried that Jiang Peihuan would discover her absence, Jiang Ruyun returned to the porridge distribution area. By the carriage. Although she already had a guess in her heart, seeing Xiao Nanyes's face made Jiang Peihuan feel doubtful. It was said that King Cheng was hard to find. Even the emperor struggled to locate him. Why was he so free now? Greetings to King Cheng. Despite her many guesses, Jiang Peihuan respectfully greeted him in a low voice as she approached the carriage. "Young miss, please stand up. I came today because I heard the Jiang family was serving porridge outside the city. In recent years, Qi Kingdom has been in constant war, and the people's lives haven't been easy. Serving porridge benefits the country and its citizens. I also want to contribute, so please don't refuse." Jiang Peihuan knew she couldn't decline the grain. After hearing his words, she bowed again. "In that case, I thank your highness on behalf of the city's people. If your highness has no other orders, I'll take my leave now." Finishing her words, she didn't wait for Xiao Nanyes's response and prepared to leave. However, as she took her first step, she saw Chuyer hurrying over. "Miss, something has happened. Calm down. What happened?" Jiang Peihuan said softly, noticing the concern on Chuyer's face. Seeing the calmness in Jiang's eyes, Chuyer's heart gradually settled down. "Someone has been poisoned." "Poisoned?" Upon hearing this, Jiang Peihuan frowned. "Your Highness, I must excuse myself. Poisoning is a serious matter. I'll accompany you to find out the cause." Without waiting for Jiang Peihuan's response, Xiao Nani led Han Feng and walked ahead. "Miss this?" Looking at King Cheng's back, Chuyer's eyes were filled with surprise. "Let's go over there first." After saying that, Jiang Peihuan strode forward. "This porridge was prepared by our general's mansion. It couldn't possibly be poisoned. Don't make baseless accusations." Upon reaching the porridge distribution site, Jiang Peihuan saw chaos. A woman lay on the ground, blood at the corner of her mouth. A boy, about 7 or 8, knelt beside her crying. A man nearby pointed at Jiang Sijin and yelled, "My wife was fine until she drank the porridge you provided. If it's not poison in your porridge, then what is it? Fellow villagers, this porridge is poisoned. Do not drink it." After scolding Jiang Sijin, the man warned those around him. Hearing the word poison, the queue quickly dispersed. "I drank this porridge too. Could I be poisoned as well?" Don't listen to his nonsense. If the porridge were truly poisonous, our general's mansion wouldn't dare serve it to the people. Aren't we afraid of the emperor's punishment? Jiang Sijin glared at the man, anger in her eyes, and then addressed the scattered crowd. "That's right. It's not the first time General Mansion has distributed porridge. Could there be another reason? Don't worry. What happened?" Zhang Peihuan said softly, noticing the concern on Chuier's face. Seeing the calmness in Jiang's eyes, Chuier's heart gradually settled down. "Someone has been poisoned." "Poisoned?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Peihuan frowned. "Your Highness, I must excuse myself. Poisoning is a serious matter. I'll accompany you to find out the cause." Without waiting for Zhang Peihuan's response, Xiaonani led Hanfeng and walked ahead. "Miss, what is this?" Chuier stared at King Cheng's retreating back, her eyes wide with surprise. "Let's go and see." With that, Zhang Peihuan strode forward. "This porridge was prepared by our general's estate. It couldn't possibly be poisoned. Don't make baseless accusations." Upon reaching the porridge distribution site, Zhang Peihuan saw chaos. A woman lay on the ground, blood at the corner of her mouth. A boy, about 7 or 8, knelt beside her, tears streaming down his face. A man nearby pointed at Jiang Sijin and yelled, "My wife was fine until she drank the porridge you provided. If it's not poison in your porridge, then what is it? Fellow villagers, this porridge is poisoned. Do not drink it." After berating Jiang Sijin, the man warned those around him. Hearing the word poison, the queue quickly dispersed. "I drank this porridge too. Could I be poisoned as well?" Don't listen to his nonsense. If the porridge were truly poisonous, our general's manor wouldn't dare serve it to the people. Aren't we afraid of the emperor's punishment? Jiang Sijin glared at the man, anger in her eyes, and then addressed the scattered crowd. "Indeed, it's not the first time our general's manor has distributed porridge. Could there be another reason? I recognize him. He's Wang Chong from Wang family village. His wife was married later, and he doesn't treat her well," the crowd murmured, their voices overlapping. The entire porridge distribution area resembled a bustling marketplace. Seeing that things weren't going his way, Wang Chong's expression darkened. He shouted at Sijin, "I don't care. It was your general's mansion's porridge that poisoned my wife. I'm reporting this to the authorities." "Big sister, you had this porridge prepared. Could there really be a problem?" While Jiang Sijin was being scolded by everyone, Zhang Ruyan had been hiding on the sidelines. When she saw Zhang Peihuan appear, she quickly spoke up. At this moment, Wang Chong also understood the reason behind this. He pointed at Zhang Peihuan and shouted, "How can a woman like you, who disregards her morals, be kind enough to serve porridge? You're obviously. How dare you insult my elder sister? I swear I'll tear your mouth apart." Jiang Sijin hadn't been very angry when she was scolded, but when she heard Wang Chong's insult toward Zhang Peihuan, she immediately pulled out the purple whip from her waist and raised her hand to strike Wang Chong. "Sijin, stop." Seeing Jiang Sijin's actions, Zhang Peihuan took out a long black whip from her waist. She casually swung it and wrapped it around Jiang Sijin's whip. "Elder sister, didn't you hear him insult you?" Jiang Sijin wasn't angry when she herself was scolded, but when she heard Zhang Peihuan being insulted, her eyes reddened with anger. Seeing Jiang Sijin's furious expression, Zhang Peihuan felt touched. She released the whip and whispered, "It's all baseless accusations. Why let them bother you?" After calming Jiang Sijin down, Zhang Peihuan shot a cold glance at Zhang Ruyan. Seeing Zhang Peihuan's expression, Zhang Ruyan's heart trembled. She didn't dare to say anything more and decided to let others speak. She looked at Wang Chong without revealing any emotion. Receiving Zhang Ruyan's gaze, Wang Chang glared at Jiang Peihuan, his eyes filled with rage. I don't care. My wife is poisoned. If she dies, you'll be the murderer. You must kneel down and, if this king hears you say another word, they'll have you sliced up and fed to the dogs. Xiao Nani had been standing quietly beside Jiang Peihuan. However, when he heard Wang Chang's insults towards her, he couldn't hold back any longer. He stared at Wang Chang with hostility in his eyes. Upon hearing the words this king, Wang Chang immediately fell to his knees. He suddenly felt a wave of regret, but it was too late now. Hearing Xiao Nanya's words, Wang Chang quickly cried, Your Highness, please stand up for me. The eldest daughter of the Jiang family poisoned my wife. Your wife isn't dead yet. At Xiao Nanya's signal, Yi Xiao approached Jiang Peihuan and said, Eldest miss, this woman ate the arsenic poison. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 15. Can she be saved? It's too late. She ate the arsenic poison for over 2 hours now. Upon seeing Yi Xiao shake his head, Jiang Peihuan's eyes filled with coldness. You are so heartless. You actually poisoned the porridge with arsenic. When Wang Chang heard Yi Xiao mention arsenic, his heart raced. Hesitating for a moment, he shouted directly at Jiang Peihuan. Did you just say you wanted to report this to the authorities? Jiang Peihuan suddenly interrupted Wang Chang, speaking coldly to him. She wore a green dress, her black hair tied up with a blue cloth strip. Her figure was thin, but her aura was remarkable. Wang Chang couldn't look straight into Jiang Peihuan's eyes. Sijin, go call the constable. Yes, elder sister. Not waiting for Wang Chang's response, Jiang Peihuan instructed Jiang Sijin. Sijin immediately mounted her horse. This situation was different from what Wang Chang expected, and he began to panic. Jiang Ruyun also appeared flustered and quickly intervened. Eldest sister, let's not report this. If grandmother learns our household is involved in a lawsuit, she'll be unhappy. We must investigate this matter thoroughly because it involves a life. Seeing the panic in Jiang Ruyun's eyes, Jiang Peihuan's gaze grew colder. Sijin, hurry. Yes. No, I don't want to report this. You officials always protect each other. I won't report it. Wang Chang suddenly rushed out, blocking Jiang Sijin's way. Seeing him, Jiang Sijin, atop her horse, glared angrily. You're quite strange. You were the one who said you wanted to report this. Now that my elder sister agrees, you refuse. What do you want? As the standoff continued, Han Feng quickly left at his master's signal. Get out of the way. The woman on the ground spat out more blood. Seeing this, Jiang Peihuan tried to approach, but Wang Chang blocked her path. Her eyes filled with coldness as she spoke in a deep voice. I won't let you. Why you? Jiang Peihuan finally lost her patience and snapped the long whip in her hand. The black whip coiled around Wang Chang's neck, and with a slight pull, he fell to the side. Stay away. I won't let you touch my mother. You are all bad people. The crying boy, kneeling on the ground, reached out to protect the woman in front of him. Although he was very scared of the long whip in Jiang Peihuan's hand, he showed no signs of moving out of the way. Your mother isn't dead yet. Don't you want to save her? Mother? Hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, the little boy looked at the woman lying on the ground. His eyes filled with tears, and as if struck by a sudden realization, he kowtowed to Jiang Peihuan. Please, save my mother, please. Yi Xiao, do your best to treat her? Yes. Yi Xiao was a skilled doctor, but the woman had been poisoned for a long time. Regardless, upon hearing Jiang Peihuan's words, she took 2 steps forward. Give her this. Xiao Nani, who had been silent all this while, suddenly spoke and handed Jiang Peihuan a black porcelain bottle. Seeing her staring at him in a daze, Xiao Nani calmly said, This is a life-prolonging pill. When Jiang Peihuan caught the scent of the medicine from the bottle, she knew it was a life-prolonging pill. The life-prolonging pill was extremely valuable. It could cure all kinds of poisons, so it was called the life-prolonging pill. She didn't expect Xiao Nani to give such a precious pill to a simple farmer's wife. Yi Xiao, give it to her. Understanding that human lives were the most important, Jiang Peihuan didn't hesitate and directly handed the pill to Yi Xiao. The woman, who had been barely breathing moments ago, opened her eyes immediately after taking the life-prolonging pill. I am still alive. Mother. Seeing the woman open her eyes, the little boy tightly gripped her hand. Su'er? Tears filled the woman's eyes as she looked at her son. You're awake. Do you still feel discomfort anywhere? Zhang Peihuan, standing nearby, softly asked the slowly awakening woman. Who are you? The woman's eyes were filled with confusion as she looked at Zhang Peihuan. Mother, this sister saved you, Su'er quickly reminded her. But upon hearing this, the woman showed no gratitude. Instead, her eyes were filled with mixed emotions, and she tearfully said, Why did you save me? You shouldn't have saved me. You're really strange. My elder sister saves your life, and not only are you ungrateful, but you even complain. Jiang Xijin walked over to Zhang Peihuan and looked at the woman with displeasure. If Jiang Xijin hadn't said that, the woman might have remained calm. But upon hearing it, she became even more agitated. Who asked her to save me? I should have died. I deserve to die. Only when I'm dead, my Su'er can live. Zhang Peihuan's eyes darkened. After the woman calmed down, she coldly said, The poison in your body is arsenic, and you've had it in your body for over 2 hours. My general's mansion has only been serving porridge for an hour. So, can you tell me how you got poisoned? Hearing Zhang Peihuan's words, the woman's eyes were filled with panic. She subconsciously looked at Wang Chong, who was glaring at her with a gloomy expression. Seeing his face, the woman couldn't help but shiver. Master, I've investigated thoroughly. At this moment, Han Feng returned to Xiao Nanya's side and briefly explained the situation. After listening to Han Feng's words, Xiao Nanya's gaze turned cold as he looked at the woman. Do you truly believe that Wang Chong will treat your son kindly once you're dead? Your Highness? Noticing Xiao Nani suddenly speaking, Zhang Peihuan subconsciously looked at him. My guard just visited Wang Chong's house. It turns out that Wang Chong prepared the arsenic for this woman. The child is his stepson, and Wang Chong used him to force the woman to take the poison. The man succinctly explained the situation. Hearing this, Zhang Peihuan turned to look at Wang Chong, her eyes filled with darkness. Is what King Cheng said true? As she spoke, Zhang Peihuan had already drawn her whip. Such a man deserved to die. Seeing the whip in Zhang Peihuan's hand, Wang Chong's eyes filled with terror. With a flash in his eyes, he suddenly pointed to Xier, standing next to Zhang Ruyun. It's her. She made me do this. No, it has nothing to do with me. Wang Chong was pointing to Xier, but Zhang Ruyun thought he was pointing at her. Before Zhang Peihuan could speak, she hurriedly waved her hands. Second sister, is this matter really connected to you? Hearing Zhang Ruyun's words, Saijin's eyes were full of shock. Don't talk nonsense. I don't even know this man. Whether it's nonsense or not, go and tell grandmother. Eyeing Peihuan glanced at Zhang Ruyun and spoke coldly. Zhang Ruyun wanted to argue, but seeing Zhang Peihuan's expression that seemed to know everything, she couldn't say a word. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 16, Your Highness. With today's events, Peihuan must return to the residence. As for the porridge distribution, you may go. I'll have someone take care of it. Thank you, Your Highness. After bowing to Xiao Nani, Zhang Peihuan led everyone back, including Wang Chong's family. Jiang Xijin had already returned to the Jiang mansion on horseback, informing Old Madam of everything. When Zhang Peihuan led everyone into Old Madam's chrysanthemum hall, the entire Jiang family had already gathered. Grandmother. Zhang Peihuan knelt down before Old Madam. Seeing her actions, Jiang Xijin hurriedly knelt as well. Zhang Ruyun hesitated, as she was pregnant, but ultimately knelt down too. Sister Huan, please stand. Xijin, you too. Seeing Zhang Peihuan and Jiang Xijin stood up, Zhang Ruyun tried to stand as well, only to be scolded. Zhang Ruyun, kneel. Who allowed you to stand? Old Madam's eyes were filled with anger as she stared at Zhang Ruyun. Mother, I don't know what Ruyun did wrong. If you want to punish, you kneel too. Seeing Zhang Ruyun kneeling, the second madam intervened, but was ordered to kneel as well by Old Madam. The second madam was shocked and indignant. Mother, even if you punish her, there must be a reason. What did my daughter do wrong? You still dare to talk back? What did she do wrong? The good daughter you raised actually dared to hire someone to hurt and murder. Mother, hearing old madam's words, the second madam was shocked. Ruyun has always been well-behaved. How could she do such a thing? Well-behaved? You have the nerve to call her that? Bring them in. Wang Chang's family was brought in. When Wang Chang had received the silver earlier, he was overjoyed. But once inside the general's mansion, he regretted it. Standing before old madam, he didn't need to be questioned. He pointed at Xier and said, "It's not my fault. She gave me the silver and told me to do it. I don't want the silver anymore. Just leave me alone." As he spoke, Wang Chang took out a bag of silver. Nanny Su immediately brought it to old madam. Opening the bag, Nanny Su softly confirmed, "Old madam, this silver is indeed from our mansion. You evil, ungrateful creature. Jiang Ruyun, confess the truth." Old madam angrily threw the silver in Granny Zu's hand at second madam and Jiang Ruyun. Witnessing the enraged old madam, Jiang Ruyun's eyes were filled with panic. Initially, second madam believed her daughter was falsely accused, but after seeing Jiang Ruyun's expression, she knew it was true. Jiang Ruyun was her daughter, and she had to stand by her. Second madam Zhou Rongfang slapped Xier's face without hesitation. Xier was knocked to the ground, blood oozing from the corner of her mouth. Second madam Zhou Rongfang directly slapped Xier's face. Xier was directly knocked to the ground, and blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. Seeing this, Wang Chang's family trembled, huddling together in fear. "Madam, I didn't do it. You dare deny it? Don't think you can act so recklessly just because your parents are in the mansion." Xier wanted to defend herself, but hearing her parents mentioned, she fell silent. Jiang Peihuan, sitting on a chair, observed the scene with cold, unyielding eyes. Without thinking, Jiang Xijin spoke up, "Second aunt, you can't say that. There's at least a few hundred taels of silver here. Xier is just a maid. Where could she get so much money? If she doesn't have it, her parents might." Jiang Xijin wanted to continue, but Jiang Peihuan stopped her, forcing her to sit down in frustration. Old madam's eyes grew colder as she watched the scene in front of her. "Xier, tell me, did you really do this on your own? Xier, you must tell the truth." The second madam glared at Xier under old madam's eyes. Xier's eyes were filled with despair. In the end, she finally lowered her head. "Yes. Inform her parents to come and take her away. Expel the whole family from the mansion." "Yes, old madam." Granny Su glanced at Xier, shook her head, and left. Xier was quickly led away. Old madam turned to Jiang Ruyun and said, "As a daughter of the Jiang family, you should preserve our reputation, not tarnish it. Huan heir, fetch the family rules." "Yes." The Jiang family's rules were not written, but a bamboo whip, handcrafted by Jiang Paihuan's grandfather. The bamboo whip was 1 meter long and as thick as a thumb. Upon seeing the bamboo whip in Jiang Paihuan's hand, Jiang Ruyun's face turned pale. "Huan heir, hit her." No, you can't hit Yun heir." Hearing old madam's words, second madam face turned pale. Jiang Ruyun couldn't be beaten now. If something happened to the child in her womb, everything would be lost. "I am the princess consort of Huainan Prince. Who dares to hit me?" Jiang Ruyun, held by second madam, suddenly pushed her mother away and looked at Jiang Peihuan with a smug expression. "Heh, even if you haven't married into the Huainan royal family yet, as long as you carry the Jiang name, you must follow our family's rules. Huan heir, hit her." Old madam's face had turned pale with anger, her hand pointing at Jiang Ruyun trembling. Seeing old madam so infuriated by Jiang Ruyun, a cold glint appeared in Jiang Paihuan's eyes. The bamboo whip in her hand lashed Jiang Ruyun's back. Jiang Peihuan showed no mercy, and with the whip strike, Jiang Ruyun let out a pitiful scream. Not a single person in the Jiang family sympathized with her. The Wangchang family had already left, leaving only the Jiang families in the Chrysanthemum Hall. Yun heir? Witnessing Jiang Ruyun being beaten, second madam's eyes filled with worry, heartache, and a touch of panic. Zhang Ruyun, today I will teach you the rules of the Zhang family. Old Madam expression improved slightly, watching Zhang Ruyun scream in pain. At that moment, second Madam pushed Zhang Peihuan away. Elder sister? Seeing this, Zhang Xijin rushed forward to support Zhang Peihuan. Old Madam's suppressed anger flared up again. What's the meaning of this? Do you want to defy our family like Zhang Ruyun? Mother, Yunair, she's pregnant. What did you say? Old Madam was stunned. As she stared at Zhang Ruyun, soaked from head to toe, second Madam spoke up. Yunair is carrying Huainan Prince's child. You can't let Zhang Peihuan hurt her. If something happens to the child, how will you, grandmother? Old Madam? Before second Madam could finish, Old Madam fainted. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 17. The entire chrysanthemum hall was in chaos. Nanny Su and Si Jin hurriedly went forward to support the old madam. Zhang Peihuan could no longer be concerned about Zhang Ruyun. Dropping the bamboo whip in her hand, she quickly walked to the old madam's side. As she helped the old madam up, she checked her pulse. Realizing that the old madam had merely fainted from anger, Zhang Peihuan breathed a sigh of relief. Nanny Su, please help grandmother to the bed. Sijin, go and call Dr. Zhang. I'll go right away. Upon hearing Zhang Peihuan's words, Sijin rushed out. Everyone headed toward the old madam's room, and as they passed by Zhang Ruyun, Zhang Peihuan gave her a cold stare. Seeing Zhang Peihuan's expression, Zhang Ruyun was startled. Looking at the unconscious old madam, she tightly gripped Zhou Rongfang's hand. Mother, will anything happen? The second madam's eyes were filled with panic, but noticing the fear in Zhang Ruyun's eyes, she held her hand reassuringly. Don't be afraid. We've already asked Sijin to call Dr. Zhang, haven't we? Everything will be all right. Mother, why did you reveal my pregnancy? Recalling the way everyone had looked at her just moments ago, Zhang Ruyun stared at Zhou Rongfang with dissatisfaction, her eyes filled with worry. Zhou Rongfang felt some regret, but seeing the resentment in her daughter's eyes, she responded indignantly, Are you blaming me? If I wasn't worried about you getting hurt and affecting the child in your womb, would I have mentioned it? Hearing this, Zhang Ruyun couldn't argue any further. After all, this was her own mother. But thinking about Zhang Peihuan's expression, Zhang Ruyun felt a chill in her heart. Mother, what should we do now? As old madam is unconscious now, everyone's attention was on her. They didn't have time to worry about Zhang Ruyun, but when the old madam awoke, she might face a fatal beating. Zhou Rongfang gripped Zhang Ruyun's hand firmly, a sudden glint in her eyes. Yunair, no matter how angry your grandmother is, the child in your womb is the heir of the Huainan prince. We can ask for help from the people at the prince's mansion. Will that work? Why not? You are the future princess consort of the Huainan prince. Come, let me take you back to the garden to rest. We still need to apply medicine to your back wound. When Zhou Rongfang didn't mention it, Zhang Ruyun hadn't felt the pain. Now, as she stood up, waves of pain washed over her back. As she walked, Zhang Ruyun couldn't help but gasp in pain. Seeing her like this, Zhou Rongfang's eyes filled with anger as she scolded. That girl, Zhang Peihuan, clearly intended to be ruthless, wanting to kill you. Mother, let's not talk about it now. Let's go back first. In the chrysanthemum hall. Third miss, please slow down. My old bones are about to fall apart. Dr. Zhang, hurry up. Grandmother is still waiting for you. Dr. Zhang was already in his 60s, and his body was still sturdy. However, he couldn't withstand Zhang Xijin's constant tugging. As Zhang Peihuan walked outside, she saw Dr. Zhang panting from being dragged. She quickly approached him. Dr. Zhang, grandmother has fainted. Thank you for coming to help. No need for such formalities, young Mississippi. Let me take a look. Nanny Su led Dr. Zhang forward. While he checked her pulse, everyone remained silent. After Dr. Zhang finished, Zhang Peihuan looked at him. Dr. Zhang, how is grandmother's health? Old madam is suffering from emotional distress. We'll give her 2 injections first. After she wakes up, she'll be fine after taking some medicine. However, Old Madam should be careful not to get too emotional due to her age. I've noted your advice. Thank you, Dr. Zhang. Please perform acupuncture on grandmother first. Dr. Zhang, originally a military doctor, became the Jiang family's official doctor due to his connection with the old general. After the acupuncture, Old Madam slowly regained consciousness. Grandmother, you're awake. Do you still feel unwell? Seeing the Old Madam open her eyes, Zhang Peihuan stepped forward and held her hand. The Old Madam had just woken up, feeling a little dizzy. Upon seeing Zhang Peihuan, she shook her head. I'm fine. She glanced at the person beside the bed, and a cold look filled her eyes. Where is Zhang Ruyun? Grandmother, Dr. Zhang said you shouldn't be too agitated. We can discuss any issues after you've recovered. No, Hua Ear. If this matter isn't handled well, it will tarnish the Jiang family's reputation and affect you and Xijin. When I die, I won't be able to face your grandfather. The Old Madam's eyes turned red. Grandmother, don't worry. Peihuan won't let the Jiang family's reputation be damaged. Jiang family's men had to go to the battlefield since they were 12. The Old Madam had supported the family with her resilience and determination. Zhang Peihuan sincerely admired and loved her grandmother. Seeing her grandmother's insistence, Zhang Peihuan looked at Nanny Su. Nanny, please go to Orchid Garden and ask Zhang Ruyun to come over. Tell her it's grandmother's order. If she disobeys, have someone bring her here by force. Yes, young Mississippi. After Nanny Su left, Zhang Peihuan looked at Zhang Xijin. Xijin, take some people and guard the door. If anyone tries to leave, no matter who it is, bring them to Chrysanthemum Hall. Yes, elder sister. Young miss, the Old Madam's condition is no longer critical, so I will take my leave. If she feels unwell, please have someone call me. Upon hearing this, Dr. Zhang understood that something was happening, and he hurriedly spoke up. However, Zhang Peihuan bowed to him. Dr. Zhang, I'm afraid we'll need your help later. Hearing her words, Dr. Zhang looked puzzled but nodded without further questions. Old Madam, eldest miss, third madam is here. What is she doing here? Third Madam Lu Xiao, a merchant's daughter, had always been disfavored by the Old Madam due to her background. In her previous life, Zhang Peihuan wasn't fond of her third aunt either. However, after the Jiang family's downfall, Lu Xiao had spent her entire fortune to help the family. In this life, Zhang Peihuan intended to maintain a good relationship with her cheerful third aunt. Grandmother, I think third aunt is here out of concern for your health. Third uncle has been in the army for a long time, and it hasn't been easy for third aunt to manage the family affairs alone. Let third madam in. Thinking of her youngest son, the Old Madam's expression softened. Zhang Peihuan signaled the servant girl. Soon, third Madam Lu Xiao was ushered in. Despite her merchant background, she had been well educated in arts and culture. Greetings, mother. Third aunt. Lu Xiao paid her respects to the Old Madam, and Zhang Peihuan bowed to her as well. Huan heir. Smiling at Zhang Peihuan, Lu Xiao took a box from the servant girl and presented it to the Old Madam. Mother, this is a 1,000-year-old Lingji mushroom. It's excellent for revitalizing your energy and health. Later, you can ask Nanny Su to make soup for you with it. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 18. A 100-year-old Lingji mushroom was already rare, and a 1,000-year-old Lingji was even rarer. Regardless of how much the Old Madam disliked Lu Xiao, she couldn't help but be moved upon seeing the 1,000-year-old Lingji. You're so thoughtful, she said. Third aunt, please don't just stand there. Sit down. We may need to discuss today's matter for a while. Zhang Peihuan whispered to Lu Xiao as she heard footsteps outside. Lu Xiao was aware of the issue in the Chrysanthemum Hall. She gently patted Zhang Peihuan's hand, and they both sat quietly to one side. How dare you fight with your master, you insolent servants? Who gave you such courage? Zhou Rongfeng's scolding voice came from outside. The Old Madam's eyes grew cold upon hearing this. The door curtain was lifted, and Zhang Ruyun was pushed in by two maids. Second Madam Zhou Rongfeng followed her, and Nanny Su walked behind them with a clear 5-finger mark on her face. Yuzhan, who slapped your face? The Old Madam asked. Yuzhan was Nanny Zu's maiden name. She had served the old madam for many years, and the entire Zhang family respected her. Zhang Peihuan was getting more and more annoyed with her second aunt. Mother, Nanny Su took advantage of your favor and ordered someone to attack Yun Air. So, you're the one who slapped Yuzhen's face. The old madam interrupted the second madam before she could finish. Yes, I accidentally hit her, admitted the second madam. Yuzhen grew up with me. Even Zhang Yuan politely addresses her as Nanny. You, on the other hand, hit her so casually. Are you trying to slap me in the face? The old madam asked. Mother, I didn't do it on purpose, the second madam replied, her eyes filled with panic. The old madam, however, ignored her and looked at Zhang Ruyun instead. Kneel down, the old madam ordered. Zhang Ruyun's back was still in pain, but she knelt at the old madam's command. Once she had knelt, the old madam turned to the quiet Dr. Zhang and said, Take her pulse. Hearing this, Zhang Ruyun's face instantly turned pale, but she didn't dare to refuse or move, as the old madam was watching her closely. Dr. Zhang, unaware of the situation, obliged when he heard the old madam's words. He approached Zhang Ruyun and said, Second miss, please extend your hand. As Dr. Zhang felt Zhang Ruyun's pulse, he froze, looking shocked. He glanced at the old madam, who seemed unfazed. Seeing Dr. Zhang's expression, the old madam had a hunch about the situation but held on to a glimmer of hope. Dr. Zhang, what's her condition? Old madam, the second miss is already pregnant for 3 months, Dr. Zhang announced. Upon hearing this, the room fell silent. Zhang Peihuan looked at Zhang Ruyun's stomach, her eyes full of coldness. She knew that Zhang Ruyun and Zhao Fucking had been having an affair, but she didn't realize it had started so early. Zhang Ruyun was already 3 months pregnant. Grandmother, why don't we let Dr. Zhang go back and rest first? Zhang Peihuan suggested. You, Zhan, escort Dr. Zhang out, the old madam instructed. Yes, old madam. After Nanny Su escorted Dr. Zhang out, the gentleness in old madam's eyes vanished without a trace. You wicked girl. She pointed at Zhang Ruyun, her hand shaking uncontrollably. Worried that the old madam might faint again, Zhang Peihuan quickly held her hand. Grandmother, please don't be angry. Seeing the worry in Zhang Peihuan's eyes, old madam's expression softened a bit. However, when she saw Zhang Ruyun, her gaze turned sharp and disapproving. With a cold expression, she said directly to Zhang Peihuan, Huan Air, beat her up. Beat her till she can't get up. The Zhang family has no place for such shamelessness. Beat her. Old madam had a stubborn personality and could not tolerate Zhang Ruyun's behavior. Zhang Ruyun had just been beaten, and now hearing old madam's words, her face went pale. Grandmother, I know I was wrong. Please have mercy for the sake of the child in my womb. Child? You're pregnant before marriage. That child is a disgrace. If I taught someone like you, I wouldn't have the face to meet your grandfather even in death. No matter. I'll deal with you today and ask your grandfather for forgiveness after I die. Huan Air, what are you waiting for? Do it. Grandmother, I truly realize my mistake. Zhang Ruyun crawled on her knees to old madam, but she was kicked away. Seeing this, Zhou Rongfang's heart ached. She pushed away those around her and rushed to embrace Zhang Ruyun. Mother, the child in Yun Air's womb is the legitimate grandson of King Huainan's mansion. Aren't you afraid they will be displeased if you harm the child in Yun Air's womb? King Huainan's mansion has insulted the Zhang family's reputation. Zhao Fucking seduced our family's daughter before marriage. Even if this matter reaches the emperor, it's their fault. You also bear responsibility for raising such a daughter. Zhang Yuan isn't here today, so I can't provide a divorce paper, but he'll teach you a lesson on his behalf. You, upon hearing the word divorce, the second madam's face turned deathly pale. Mother, I'm willing to accept the punishment. Please don't be angry. Fine. Since you've accepted your punishment, get out and kneel. You may not rise without my command. You, Zhan, assign someone to keep an eye on her. Yes, ma'am. Mother. Watching the second madam being led away, Zhang Ruyun's already pale face grew even paler. Old madam's gaze returned to Zhang Ruyun. Tell me, when did you start your affair with Zhao Fucking? And who covered for your secret meetings? Zhang Ruyun, you better explain everything clearly. Zhang Ruyun's eyes were filled with shame and anger, especially when she saw Zhang Paihuan's mocking gaze. Speak up already. Seeing Zhang Ruyun's hesitance, old madam scoffed coldly. Grandmother, I genuinely realize my mistake. Tears suddenly filled Zhang Ruyun's eyes. If it weren't for her occasional glances towards the door, Zhang Peihuan might have believed her. Elder sister? At that moment, Zhang Xijin entered with another person. Behind her was a young maid, tied up tightly. This was Zhang Ruyun's other maid, Xiang Er. Xiang Er? Zhang Ruyun's expression changed drastically when he saw the servant girl he sent to deliver the letter was captured. Eldest sister. This maid was sneaking out of the mansion, so I brought her here. What do you want to do when you leave the mansion? Zhang Peihuan looked at Xiang Er indifferently and spoke softly. Hearing Zhang Paihuan's words, Xiang Er subconsciously looked at Zhang Ruyun. Observing this, Zhang Peihuan coldly said, Xiang Er, you should consider Shi Er's fate before you speak. Don't forget, as servants of the Zhang family, your loyalty should always lie with the family. Yes, it was the young miss who asked me to deliver the letter. As she spoke, Xiang Er pulled a letter from her clothes. Zhang Peihuan stepped forward and took it from her. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 19, You Wretched Servant. Upon seeing this, Zhang Ruyun couldn't help but lunge at Xiang Er, but she was restrained by Zhang Xijin. Grandmother. Zhang Peihuan didn't open the letter, but instead handed it directly to the old madam. Heh, hee, Zhang Ruyun, do you have any shame left? Seeing the contents of the letter, the old madam scolded Zhang Ruyun with anger in her eyes. At that moment, Zhang Ruyun lifted her head defiantly and shouted, Grandmother, regardless of what you say, Brother Zhao already knows about my pregnancy. Since he knows, the Huainan king and the queen must know as well. Surely, you don't want to be at odds with the Huainan mansion. Since things have come this far, you might as well accept it. Both families can still find happiness. Shut up. The old madam was so angry that she could not say a word. Zhang Peihuan stepped forward and slapped Zhang Ruyun across the face. Zhang Ruyun was dazed by the slap, her hand covering her face. After a few seconds, she lunged at Zhang Peihuan. What right do you have to hit me? Why? Because I'm the eldest daughter of the Zhang family. I have the right to discipline you, a Zhang family girl who has broken the family rules. Do you truly believe the Prince of Huainan wants to marry you? Zhang Peihuan suddenly spoke, catching Zhang Ruyun off guard. She even forgot the pain on her face. Looking at the person before her, a terrible feeling welled up in her heart. What do you mean by that? Zhang Peihuan, Brother Zhao, and I genuinely love each other. Stop trying to drive a wedge between us, fool. Without waiting for Zhang Ruyun to finish, Zhang Peihuan coldly interrupted her. You think Zhao fucking hurriedly impregnated you to marry you sooner? Then do you know that the Zhao family already had a child long ago, and it was a boy? The Zhao family rushed to marry you, so that you would have no way to back out once you found out the truth. Why are you rushing to be someone's stepmother so badly? You're spouting nonsense. Zhang Ruyun stared at Zhang Peihuan and shouted hoarsely. Seeing Zhang Ruyun's unyielding state, Zhang Paihuan's eyes turned cold. Huan Er, is what you said true? At this point, the old madam couldn't help but intervene. Lu Xiao and Saijin's gazes also fell on Zhang Peihuan. She had learned about this matter in her past life. Initially, she didn't plan to reveal it so soon, but seeing Zhang Ruyun's predicament, she had no choice but to speak. Upon hearing the old madam's words, she nodded. It's true, grandmother. No, it can't be. You're lying, Zhang Peihuan. You must be lying. Zhang Ruyun appeared to lose her mind. Zhang Peihuan looked at her and said, word by word, if that's the case, I'll let you see the truth for yourself. Hearing this, Zhang Ruyun was left dumbstruck. The Zhao family has gone too far. Xijin clenched the whip in her hand, her eyes filled with anger. Grandmother, let Huan Er handle this matter. Zhang Peihuan approached the old madam and held her hand firmly. The old madam patted her head, nodding. All right, I entrust this matter to you. Don't be afraid. Your grandmother will always be here for you. Juan knows. Third aunt, please take care of grandmother. Don't worry, they'll definitely take good care of mother. See Jean, guard the house. Yes, elder sister. Once everything at home was settled, Zhang Pei Huan took Zhang Ruiyun out. Sitting in the carriage, Zhang Ruiyun felt dazed and disoriented. The carriage seemed to be traveling to a more remote area, prompting her to glare at Zhang Pei Huan and demand, "Where are you taking me?" "You will know soon enough." With that, Zhang Pei Huan closed her eyes. Half an hour later, Granny Zu's voice came from outside. "Eldest miss, we've arrived." Hearing the voice, Zhang Pei Huan opened her eyes. After Nanny Su lifted the curtain, she stepped out of the carriage. Seeing that Zhang Ruiyun was still seated, she asked, "Aren't you coming down?" Zhang Ruiyun felt a mix of confusion and panic, but she got off the carriage at Zhang Peihuan's prompt. Before them was a quiet, serene courtyard. Following Zhang Peihuan's signal, Nanny Su went forward and knocked on the door. "Who is it?" A delicate voice came from inside. Hearing it, Zhang Ruiyun clenched her fists. "Mother, is father here?" Next, a child's voice reached their ears. As they approached, the door opened. The woman who opened the door had a delicate appearance. When she saw Zhang Ruiyun, her expression changed instantly. She tried to close the door, but Zhang Peihuan stopped her. "Lanji, it's been a long time." Lanji, Zhao Fucking's nanny's daughter, had served Zhao Fucking since childhood. Both Zhang Peihuan and Zhang Ruiyun recognized her. "Eldest miss, second miss?" "Mother, who are these people?" A child ran forward and hugged Lanji tightly. Upon seeing the boy, Zhang Ruiyun almost stumbled. The child bore a striking resemblance to Zhao Fucking, making it apparent whose son he was. "Can't handle the truth?" Instead of mocking Zhang Ruiyun, Zhang Peihuan spoke indifferently. Knowing the answer already, Zhang Ruiyun still couldn't help but ask, "Whose son is he?" "Second miss?" Lanji had no idea how the Zhang family found this place. She didn't dare to speak and could only look at Zhang Ruiyun with panic, but there was a bit of pride in her eyes from time to time. So what if she was the young lady of the general's mansion? She had given birth to the eldest son for Zhao Fucking. "Speak. Whose child is this?" Zhang Ruiyun walked forward and kicked Lanji. Seeing Zhang Ruiyun's actions, the child was scared to tears and clung to Lanji, saying, "You're not allowed to bully my mother, you bad woman." Zhang Ruiyun was furious. "You little bastard, get lost." As she spoke, Zhang Ruiyun tried to pull the child away, but Lanji pushed her back. "Second miss, if you want to punish me, I have no complaints. But the young master is the son of the prince. When you enter the Huainan mansion, he will have to call you mother. How can you scold him?" "Nanny Su." Zhang Peihuan saw this scene and gave Lanji a cold glance. Catching her meaning, Nanny Su stepped forward and slapped Lanji twice. "Second miss is the future princess consort. How dare a lowly servant like you fight with her?" A lowly servant, even if she gave birth to the little master, remains of lowly status. How dare you encourage him to call you mother? Nanny Zu's 2 slaps were ruthless, and Lanji's face swelled up instantly. Seeing this, Zhang Ruiyun's eyes flashed with surprise, but she quickly showed a proud expression. "Don't worry, they'll definitely take good care of this child for you in the future. Sorry for the inconvenience." "Thank you very much." Chapter 20. As long as I'm here, don't even think about setting food in the king mansion. Lanji was able to give birth to this child safely, so she was naturally not easy to deal. Hearing this, she didn't cry or cause a scene. She just hugged the child beside her. "It doesn't matter if I go to the king mansion or not. As long as the second young lady treats the eldest young master well, I would willingly die without a second thought." "You." Hearing Lanji's words, Zhang Ruiyun's eyes filled with rage. She longed to kill Lanji right then and there, but as soon as she tried to move, a sharp pain shot through her stomach. "What's wrong?" Noticing Zhang Ruiyun clutch her stomach, Zhang Peihuan quickly reached out to support her. "My stomach hurts." Nanny Su, help second miss onto the carriage.
"Yes."
Seeing that Zhang Ruiyun was still staring at Lanji, Zhang Peihuan looked at her coldly and said, Don't forget your current physical condition. Thinking of the child in her belly, Jiang Ruyun reluctantly allowed Nanny Su to help her onto the carriage. Lanji, you've grown up in the king's mansion. Do you know how they handle a servant girl who gives birth while serving in a prestigious household like this? What would happen? They would be beat to death, of course. If the child had already been born, they would keep the child and discard the mother. Raising her head to look at Jiang Peihuan, Lan Ji's face turned deadly pale. Seeing the panic in her eyes, Jiang Peihuan continued, I believe you're a clever person. You should know how to serve your mistress properly from now on. Go tell the Zhao family that the daughters of the Jiang family aren't easily bullied. We demand an explanation from the Prince of Huainan's mansion. With that, Jiang Peihuan stepped onto the carriage. Watching the carriage depart, Lan Ji felt as if she had been fished out of water, her head drenched in cold sweat. The second miss of the Jiang family didn't frighten her, but the eldest miss was truly terrifying. No, she had to come up with a plan. Otherwise, she would never make a name for herself. Lan Ji ran back inside in a panic. Jiang Ruyun, who was in the carriage, was no longer as arrogant as before. Resembling a frostbitten eggplant, she glanced at Jiang Peihuan from time to time, having many things to say, but upon seeing those dark eyes, she couldn't utter a word. Jiang Peihuan, sitting opposite her, took the initiative to speak up. What are your plans regarding this matter? This has nothing to do with you, eldest sister. You don't need to worry about it. Without thinking, Jiang Ruyun shouted directly. As soon as she said it, she regretted it, but it was too late. Although she no longer had any hope for Jiang Ruyun, when she heard this, Jiang Peihuan's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. If it weren't for you being a member of the Jiang family, who would care about you? The atmosphere in the carriage instantly dropped. At this moment, the carriage stopped. Then, Nanny Zu's voice came from outside. Eldest Mississippi, what is it? Granny Su didn't say anything. Jiang Peihuan lifted the curtain and saw Xiao Nanny sitting on his horse. The man sat on his horse, looking at her with a smile in his eyes. Miss, we meet again. What a coincidence. Upon hearing this, the corners of Han Feng's mouth twitched as he sat on another horse. His master was becoming increasingly good at lying. He had clearly seen the Jiang family's carriage and decided to follow them. At this moment, Jiang Peihuan was truly speechless. She had no contact with this person in her previous life, so why did they keep crossing paths in this one? Does your Highness King Cheng have any instructions? Jiang Peihuan nodded slightly at the man and asked softly. She was just asking casually, but she did not expect the man on the horse to hear this and nod seriously. I do have something I need Miss help with. Miss, you can treat it as repaying me for saving your life that day. Jiang Peihuan, who was about to refuse, but she couldn't when she heard the words life-saving grace, she could only look up at him. What's the matter? This requires you to accompany me. What do you think? After a moment of silence, Jiang Peihuan said directly to Nanny Su, Nanny, please send second miss back to the Jiang mansion and inform grandmother of this matter. Once I finish helping King Cheng, they'll return immediately. Yes, young Mississippi. Opening the carriage curtain, Jiang Peihuan jumped off. Seeing her swift movements, Xiao Nanny raised his eyebrows and the smile in his eyes deepened. I came out in a hurry and didn't prepare a carriage. I hope you don't mind riding with me. As Xiao Nanny spoke, he reached out his hand to Jiang Peihuan. However, she glanced at him and shook her head. Thank you, Your Highness, but I have my own horse. With that, Jiang Peihuan took a whistle from her waist, put it to her mouth, and blew it. The sound of the whistle echoed instantly, followed by the loud sound of galloping hooves. A red horse appeared before Xiao Nanny. Seeing the horse, Jiang Peihuan smiled and said, Lai Feng, come here. Hearing Jiang Peihuan's voice, the horse neighed loudly and stopped steadily in front of her. Petting Lai Feng's head, Jiang Peihuan stepped onto the stirrups and gracefully mounted the horse. Not a bad horse, Xiao Nanny remarked. Thank you for your praise, Your Highness. Lai Feng is indeed a fine horse. That's good. My own horse, Zhue Yun, is also quite impressive. I wonder, Miss Jiang, if you're in the mood for a friendly race. I've heard that the daughters of the Jiang family are skilled riders, surpassing even men. I'm sure you won't disappoint me. Though Jiang Peihuan initially wanted to decline, she nodded upon hearing the mention of her family. In that case, I hope you'll excuse my boldness. She patted Lai Feng's neck, and sensing its master's intent, the horse took off. Xiao Nani quickly followed, and soon, the two were riding side by side. Second miss, let's return to the mansion. Nanny Su suggested to Jiang Ruyun after Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nani had disappeared around a corner. Jiang Ruyun, who was in the carriage, looked at the place where Jiang Peihuan had disappeared. Her eyes were filled with jealousy. King Chang had clearly seen her, yet had ignored her and smiled gently at Jiang Peihuan. While she was pregnant, and her future husband already had a grown son. The more Jiang Ruyun thought about it, the angrier she became. Upon hearing Granny Zh's words, she snapped, "To the Huainan mansion." Second miss, the first miss instructed, "Don't mention Jiang Peihuan to me. Get lost." Jiang Ruyun suddenly pulled out the long whip at her waist and whipped it directly on the horse's back. The horse instantly ran out. Nanny Su was left on the road by Jiang Ruyun. As she watched the carriage disappear, Nanny Zh's expression changed. This isn't good. Something bad is going to happen. Second miss, Nanny Su is a trusted attendant of the old madam. Should we really just leave her behind like? Ow. Seeing Nanny Su who was left on the road, the coachman couldn't help but voice his concern. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Jiang Ruyun's whip fell upon him. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 21. The daughters of the Jiang family were skilled in using whips as weapons. Jiang Ruyun, having practiced for a few years, had mastered the basics of martial art. Upon hearing the coachman's words, she coldly warned, "If you dare to say more, beware of my whip." The coachman didn't dare to say another word and drove the carriage straight to the Huainan King mansion. Beside the moat, seeing that there were more and more people in front of them, Jiang Peihuan and Xiao Nani pulled the reins at the same time. "Your horsemanship is truly exceptional, Mississippi. I am humbled by my own inadequacy," Xiao Nani complimented with a smile, observing the rider on the horse. It had been quite some time since she had enjoyed riding so freely. Her heart swelled with happiness, and her previous frustration seemed to have disappeared. Hearing the man's words, she humbly replied, "Your Highness is too kind. I've used all my strength, while you've merely exerted a fraction of yours." Xiao Nani smiled in response, not offering any further comment. Han Feng trailed far behind them and only caught up now. Upon seeing his master, he hurriedly approached. "Master, the eldest princess' birthday is in a few days. Have you chosen a gift yet?" "When did I say that I wouldn't go?" "Quit being meddlesome," he coldly retorted, glancing at Han Feng. Turning to Jiang Peihuan, his eyes softened. "The eldest princess' birthday is approaching, and I am unsure of what women like. I hope to ask for your assistance, Mississippi." "Your Highness, do you mean selecting a gift for the eldest princess?" "Precisely." Jiang Peihuan suspected this was merely an excuse, but couldn't determine what Xiao Nani could gain from her. She followed him to the 100 Treasures Pavilion in the city. Before stepping inside, she heard Jiang Sijin's voice. "Eldest sister?" Turning around, Jiang Peihuan saw Jiang Sijin riding towards her, accompanied by Yi Xiao. "Sijin?" Eldest sister, second sister went to the Huainan mansion alone. When Nanny Su informed grandmother, she was so furious she nearly fainted. "Third aunt sent me to find you." Jiang Peihuan's eyes turned cold upon hearing the news. Jiang Ruyun truly didn't care about the Jiang family's reputation. "Your Highness, I'm afraid I cannot assist you today. No matter, we can choose a gift another day. I have urgent matters to attend to. Please excuse me." With that, Jiang Peihuan mounted her horse, Lai Feng. "Your Highness, farewell." Seeing this, Jiang Sijin quickly followed. "Protect her. If there's anything you can't handle, notify me," Xiao Nani ordered Yi Xiao sternly. Yi Xiao nodded and pursued them. Watching the trio depart, Han Feng turned to his master. "Master, are we still going to choose the gift? What do you think?" Glancing at him coldly, the man mounted his horse and chased after Jiang Peihuan. "Master has indeed fallen under Miss Jiang's spell," Han Feng muttered, watching Xiao Nan's receding figure, and reluctantly followed. Huainan Mansion, what are you doing here? Queen Churou of Huainan sat in the main seat. Her expression indifferent as she looked at Zhang Rian. Churou was not pleased with Zhang Peihuan, who was only skilled in weaponry. However, she was even more dissatisfied with the daughter of a 5th-grade military general, especially since Zhao Fucking had lost 200,000 gold carts due to the change in marriage arrangements. Both King Zhao Yang of Huainan and Queen Churou were displeased. 100,000 carts given to Zhang Peihuan were provided by the royal mansion, but the other 100,000 carts given to Xiao Nani came from Chu Rao's dowry. Unable to blame her own son, so she blamed it on Zhang Peihuan and Zhang Ruyun. As Zhang Peihuan no longer had any connection to the Huainan royal mansion, Chu Rou could only blame Zhang Ruyun. Queen, I want to see Brother Zhao. Upon arrival, Zhang Ruyun's eyes were filled with anger, but as she entered the Huainan mansion, her anger gradually faded. When facing Chu Rou, she dared not show the slightest trace of anger. You still dare to mention Qing Heir? Do you know that because of you, he is still being punished by his father, forced to kneel in the ancestral hall? Zhao Yang punished Zhao Fucking mainly because he was worried about angering Xiao Nani. After sending out the 100,000 gold carts, he immediately ordered Zhao Fucking to kneel in the ancestral hall. Unable to see Zhao Fucking, she couldn't discuss the matter of Lan Ji and her son. Just as Zhang Ruyun was considering whether to tell Chu Rou, she saw a nanny tearfully kneeling before Chu Rou. Princess, please save my Lan Ji. Seeing the person on the ground, Chu Rou asked with confusion, Granny Wei, what happened to Lan Ji? Lan Ji hanged herself. Hanged herself? Why would she do that without any reason? This? At that moment, Nanny Wei looked straight at Zhang Ruyun. Following her gaze, Chu Rao's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. Second Miss Jiang, is this matter related to you? When Zhang Ruyun heard the news of Lan Ji hanging herself, she was stunned. In just a moment, she reacted. That wretched servant did it on purpose. Shut up. Before Zhang Ruyun could finish, Chu Rou scolded her with a cold glare. Queen, you are? Upon seeing the gloom in Chu Rao's eyes, Zhang Ruyun was filled with disbelief. She had believed that the Huainan queen would support her since the Huainan mansion had been the unreasonable party in this matter. She even thought that the queen didn't know about the child at all. Lan Ji is the biological mother of my eldest grandson, said Chu Rou. You keep calling her a lowly servant. Do you have any respect for me, the queen? I originally planned to tell you about Su Heir after you married him, she continued. Since you already know, I can tell you now. Nanny Wei is my personal attendant, and Lan Ji is her daughter who gave birth to Qing Heir's eldest son. So, after you join our family, they'll have Qing Heir take Lan Ji as his concubine. But she's just a servant girl, objected Zhang Ruyun. She became pregnant before her mistress. She should have been punished severely. How could she be? Second Miss Jiang, interrupted Chu Rou coldly. Didn't you also have a child before marriage? Why can't you tolerate Lan Ji? True, she's a servant girl, but you are from a noble family. Zhang Ruyun's face turned pale with anger upon hearing this. After a long silence, she looked at Chu Rou and said, Queen, my uncle and father will return soon. If this matter reaches my uncle's ears, I'm afraid it won't end well. Upon thinking of Zhang Hong, Chu Rao's eyes flashed with hesitation. At that moment, a figure suddenly rushed in front of Zhang Ruyun. Second Miss, this is all Lan Ji's fault. Please don't tell the general about this. I beg you. If you are angry, you can hit and scold me. It's all Lan Ji's fault. Lan Ji? Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 22. Watching Lan Ji suddenly rushed out, Nanny Zu's eyes filled with tears, and Chu Rao's expression became worried. When she looked at Zhang Ruyun, her dissatisfaction grew. As the young lady of the general's mansion, you should abide by the rules for women and be magnanimous. Moreover, the Huainan mansion only has Qing Heir as its only son. Naturally, you'd want Qing Heir to have a family. Just you alone is not enough. Second Miss, don't worry. Lan Ji will definitely serve you well in the future. She won't compete with you for anything. Su Heir won't fight with your unborn child either. You, get lost. Though Lan Ji kept crying, when she looked at Zhang Ruyun, Her eyes were full of undisguised pride. Seeing her expression, Jiang Ruyun couldn't hold back any longer. However, Lan Ji still didn't let go. She knew Jiang Ruyun was pregnant. If the child couldn't be born, then Su Er would be the only child in the Huainan mansion let go. No matter what Jiang Ruyun said, Lan Ji wouldn't let go. She just clung to Jiang Ruyun's leg. Second miss, I beg you. When you marry the prince, Su Er will also be your son. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Before Lan Ji could finish her words, she heard Jiang Ruyun scream. She quickly let go of her hand, but still pretended to support her. Second miss, are you? Jiang Paihuan's appeared with a serious aura, and she held the black whip tightly in her hand. Second sister, what's wrong? Although Si Jin didn't like Jiang Ruyun, she still went forward to support her when she saw her pale face lying on the ground. My stomach hurts. Elder sister? Jiang Si Jin was still a child. She was also very flustered in such a situation. She subconsciously looked at Jiang Peihuan. Yi Xiao, treat second Mississippi. Yes. Who allowed you to barge in? Don't you have any manners? At this moment, Chu Rou finally reacted. Looking at Jiang Peihuan, who was holding a long whip, her eyes were filled with annoyance. Huainan Queen, are you allowing your servants to bully my younger sister? Do you think the general mansion has no one to stand up for us? Lying on the ground, Jiang Ruyun's eyes flashed with surprise upon hearing this. She couldn't help but look up at Jiang Peihuan. Her clothes were still thin, but her posture was tall and straight. Eldest sister? Looking at Jiang Peihuan's back, Jiang Ruyun couldn't help but call out. Hearing her voice, the person standing turned around. Don't talk. Let Yi Xiao check your pulse. Miss, the child in second Miss womb can't be saved. What did you say? Despite the pain in her stomach, Jiang Ruyun tightly gripped Yi Xiao's hand. Her eyes turned red and filled with rage. Si Jin, help your second sister. Yes. Second sister, the ground is cold. Please, get up first. With despair in her eyes, Jiang Ruyun allowed Jiang Si Jin to help her up. Suddenly, she pushed Si Jin away and lunged at Lan Ji. You wretched woman, I'll kill you. Help. Someone, come and pull her away. Chu Rou witnessed Jiang Ruyun pulling a golden hairpin from her head and attempting to stab Lan Ji, so she quickly yelled for help. Guards from the mansion rushed in immediately. Quickly pull her away. Who dares? As the guards approached Jiang Ruyun, Jiang Peihuan fiercely swung her whip, causing the guard in front to fall to the ground. The other guards hesitated, not daring to move forward. Save me. Mother, Queen, save me. Seeing Jiang Ruyun wielding the golden hairpin and coming at her, Lan Ji's eyes filled with panic as she scrambled to her feet. Jiang Ruyun pursued her, but she was weak and unable to catch up with Lan Ji. Jiang Peihuan, how dare you attack my guards in the Huainan mansion? Do you think this is the general's mansion? The Huainan king's mansion wronged my Jiang family first. I'm merely giving them a taste of their own medicine. Rebels, capture them all. Elder sister, let me help you. Seeing the increasing number of guards, Jiang Si Jin also drew the red whip from her waist. Although there were many guards, with Yi Xiao by her side, Jiang Peihuan had little trouble handling the guards. Hearing Jiang Sijin's words, she whispered, Go help your second sister. Catch that servant girl. Yes. Queen, please save Lan Ji. Nanny Wei noticed Si Jin approaching Lan Ji and quickly shouted. Upon hearing this, Chu Rou coldly commanded, Stop her. Two guards instantly blocked Sijin's path. Seeing them, she brandished her whip, stirring up a gust of wind. Move aside, or don't blame my whip for being blind. The two guards exchanged glances and charged at Jiang Sijin together. The entire hall was in chaos. On the roof outside the courtyard, Han Feng looked at Xiao Nani beside him and whispered, Master, should we help eldest miss? Not for now. The man lay casually on the roof, his gaze fixed on Jiang Peihuan. Inside the room, Jiang Peihuan was unaware of all this. Seeing more and more guards, the whip in her hand grew increasingly fierce. Seeing more blood flowing from Jiang Ruyun, her eyes filled with coldness. Yi Xiao, hold them off. Yes. As Yi Xiao blocked the guards, Jiang Peihuan turned and swung her whip. Lan Ji, who was running towards them, was immediately caught by her neck. Jiang Peihuan pulled hard, and Lan Ji fell right at Jiang Ruyun's feet. Without hesitation, Jiang Ruyun tried to stab Lan Ji with the golden hairpin. Frightened, Lan Ji closed her eyes, but the expected pain never came. It turned out that Jiang Peihuan had grabbed Jiang Ruyun's hand. Eldest sister? Jiang Ruyun's eyes were full of tears. Seeing her miserable state, Jiang Peihuan's expression remained indifferent, but her voice softened a bit. You can't kill her just yet, or you'll be the one in the wrong. As Jiang Ruyun was stopped, Lan Ji tried to sneak away, but Jiang Peihuan's whip sent her to the ground. Ah! The whip tore through Lan Ji's clothes, and she screamed in pain. Outside the house, Han Feng couldn't help but wince when he saw the whip. Master, eldest miss is quite fierce. The whip even made him hurt. Xiao Nanyas' eyes held a constant smile. Hearing his guard's words, he nodded. Yes, she's fierce, but I like it. Han Feng was speechless. So, other than not killing her, everything else is allowed? Looking at Lan Ji on the ground, Jiang Ruyun's eyes were filled with hatred. Jiang Peihuan didn't respond. Instead, she raised her whip and glared at the approaching guards. Whoever dares to come forward, don't blame my whip for being merciless. At that moment, Jiang Ruyun pulled out the long whip at her waist. Her whip was purple. Gripping the whip's handle, Jiang Ruyun lashed out fiercely at Lan Ji. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.